You're beautiful angel， 激情燃烧，他手能伸久，眉开眼笑。Beautiful angel， 心情浮躁，他虚无缥缈，诡异的笑，不停的骚扰。不停的争吵。You're beautiful angel， 深藏温柔，爱化为乌有，你不早说。Beautiful angel， 非常的稀有，充满我需要，我想不透。Beautiful angel，Beautiful angel，Beautiful
I am obsessed with this music. Obsessed. It is early 2000s Mandarin trip hop. I'm just working out my chat because it's doing that thing again where it's decided it only likes YouTube. And everyone on Twitch sucks, apparently. So I'm just going to have Twitch up, I think. Hang on. Let's transition over to me, okay? Oh no. Why? Why? Did I bump my camera? Why is it like this? Hang on. You wait. You wait, guys. Do you care if there's a little computer in there? I don't think it matters. I think it makes it look like I'm reading. Just got done watching the last Taylor Lorenz part. I want to watch that. I want to watch Leah Miller and her take on Greenland. Oh, sign into chat. I'm not even signed in. Guys, I did the update where I got the whole new sort of thing so I could dual stream. I don't like it. I need a different one. Also, you know what I love? When you decide... Uh-oh. No, it's all good. Oh, no. You know when you decide, oh, I'm going to suddenly care a whole lot about my online security? I'm going to change all my passwords to really complicated things. Yeah. Last attempt. Let me in. Okay, I don't know how to, Okay, interesting. Defeated this time. How do I just let me out. Guys, Why is this happening? I was so ready to be all prepared. Now I can't see any chat. Oh my God. I'm too pretty for this. Formica, thank you. Did my alert even go off? Like what? No. Oh. There we go. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. What's happening? Exactly. Exactly. It's my birthday tomorrow, by the way, guys. Kind of weird that you haven't wished me happy birthday yet. Kind of weird. It's my birthday. You think we're desynced? That's great. Hang on. You know why we're desynced? Because when I was recording, I can fix that. Guys. When I was recording my video on Venezuela, I was also desynced. So I thought I'll put some syncing in. I'll fix that. Advanced audio properties. What about if I just... Why? Is this any better? Am I synced, fam? YouTube, I don't know if I can see you now. I don't know what's happening. Oh, there you are. Yay, thank you for all the happy birthdays. Yes, finally, I'm finally legal. I'm finally of age. Of what age? Okay, awesome. I synced it, I fixed it. You know why? Because I'm basically a computer programmer. This is my new job. If I learn how to vibe code, it's over for all of you. No, we need to talk about some things. Is Sasha Riley all over your feed? Who is Sasha Riley? Am I missing the exciting content? I want you to know how dedicated I am to you guys because my chat isn't working. So I'm just clicking back and forth between YouTube and the other thing, whatever that other thing is. Why are you not working, you little bitch? Okay, guys. So there's a lot. Yeah, I'm old. I was joking. I'm obviously not 18. YouTube is delayed. Okay, well, Joe Weisenthal, he does odd bits, odd socks, odd something, right? Odd something. Odd lots. Yes, I like that. When I did that week where I decided I was an economist, I listened to that a lot. I really liked odd lots. Okay, guys. So a few things. First of all, that's wrong. First of all, you all have to go to my YouTube. You all have to watch the video. You all have to like it and you all have to comment on it. And I don't mean that in like a fun, like, oh, maybe you should. I mean that you have to. That's your birthday gift to me. Okay? I'm not really a big birthday person. I'm not asking for a lot though. You saw it, but you didn't watch it? Sean. I will look it up. It's very important to me because one, I'm shadow banned. And that's not me saying that. That's someone else being like, I can't find your videos even when I click on your profile. So I believe I'm shadow banned. And I also need to believe that for my mental health, okay? Okay. What else? So when you watch my video, the basic... Thank you for leaving a comment saying I'm hot. That's really the critical support this stream needs. Okay, so when you watch my video, I tend to do... I'm trying so hard to make videos that are not 400 hours long. You know what I mean? Because when I write a script originally, it's 6,000 words and it's just not doable in any kind of meaningful way. So I try and cut them down, but that obviously means that I leave out a lot of stuff too. So sometimes there'll be like a whole lot of stuff. How do video essayists do it though? I don't know. I'm out here just making people, I guess, when the really big video essayists have a team. So people write their scripts, people edit for them, whereas I'm out here doing it by myself, which is fine because lots of people also do that themselves and they're very successful. My problem that I'm trying to get over, and I tried to get over it with the last video, is I become fixated on things like the sound of my breath. And then people are like, why are there so many jump cuts? I'm sorry, I had to cut out every time I took a breath or swallowed because that repulsed me to my very core. I could not. I cannot have you guys hear me talking like this. And I try to breathe through my nose, but it becomes very difficult. So I'm sitting there like at 2 a.m. after filming, just listening for every time I even slightly breathe, and it's gone. But last video, I tried to release that a little bit, not do that so much. It was hard, but I put it up there. I even believe you heard me at one point. But yeah, I don't have the don't write a script. There's too many important things to remember. Teresa's isotope plugin. Oh, hello, Buck. Thank you. Let me put that in my handy dandy notebook. Teresa's isotope. I have isotope. Oh, Teresa's isotope. Do you saying there's an isotope? There is an isotope, not Teresa's isotope. I know, but okay, this is the other problem. And then I try and edit my sound for it to sound good. I don't know if you can tell, but I have a bit of a lisp. It's a little noticeable. So I want to de-ess my voice in the videos. But sometimes when you de-ess, it makes it worse. And then sometimes when you de-plosive, everything sounds kind of weird and distorted. And I found that when I was using the breath remover, it was hard. What do I think my best? I really liked my videos on Netanyahu, and I think because I put a lot of work into finding archival footage for those. But I don't know. I just didn't feel like the people liked them. It was crazy that the Dark Gothic MAGA one took off because I did it in a hotel room in a rush because I fucked up the first recording. But also I think visually MAGA Magic is the best by far because my brother did all the visuals for that. I didn't, so it was amazing. So it's tough. Like MAGA Magic was supposed to be a really quick video that I did while I was working on something else, and it ended up being like an 8-month thing. So, you know, them's the breaks. But I have released a video a month so far, and I'm trying to get that up. I would love to actually talk to someone like Leah. Like if I could talk to someone like Leah Miller and just be like, all I want to know is what your day looks like. Like what is you release a video a week. What does your week look like? How much research do you do? What script writing do you do? Like, how do you break up your day? Because a huge problem I find in like doing working for yourself is that you're in charge of how you do your own time. And so, you know, and I struggle because I want to, not only do I want to be correct when I tell you information, I want to have like a unique point of view. I want to make sure that you guys learn something from me that maybe you haven't learned anywhere else. And that, oh yeah, this brings me back to what I wanted to say. A big problem I have to take a drink before I admit to fault. It's just, you know. An issue I have is that I tend to, because of the area that I studied in, right? So like I did a lot of Wittgensteinian philosophy, and Wittgensteinian philosophy is about dissolving the problem. So instead of like trying to answer a question, you check the question isn't the problem itself. So you check the diagnosis is right before you start trying to cure something, right? And so a lot of the work that I do is like more diagnostic. I'm really trying to hone in on checking that we have the correct assessment of the problem, that we're not missing anything, that there's not some element that's going to smack us in the ass if we accidentally ignore it, right? But then people are kind of like, okay, awesome. So what do we do about it? And I totally accept that criticism. I think that is very true of my work. I'm not really giving the antidote to anything. In my defense, if world leaders can't work it out, if all of the think tanks in the world can't work it out, right? If all the world leaders are coming together and they're not coming up with a solution, why are you looking at me, a little YouTuber, to come up with the answer? But I did try and think about the Greenland situation last night and what the answer might be. Like if there were an answer, what would it be? What would let's say I'm putting myself in as a role in the world that doesn't exist. I'm kind of like a consultant to all of Europe. Okay? So let me put on my consulting Europe hat, right? If I were consulting all of Europe and I were holding what I know to be true about the Greenland situation, right? Which is that everything is now seen as transactional, everything's focused on economics, everything is focused on what you can do for them in terms of your relationship with Europe. Oh, first things first, I want to say this this stupid, silly letter that Trump sent, where he's like, I'm sending you this letter, Denmark, to let you know that it is your fault that I'm taking Greenland because you wouldn't give me my little prize. No, that's bullshit. Okay? That's a lie. And I truly believe this is done on purpose, where by the administration writ large, because so long as they can blame things on Trump's kooky personality, it feels very out of control. It feels like, oh, well, it's just Trump being crazy old Trump. He's trying to get us to take Greenland. Well, what do we do? Just Trump being Trump. When in actual fact, it's like, no, this is all of our plan. We just don't want you to look too closely at it. Look over there. Look at Trump being a widow. We here, we're going to keep doing our little thing. Yeah, so don't believe any of those messages about Trump being crazy and doing this because of the Nobel Prize. No, of course it's not that. You know what it honestly is from Trump's point of view? Because the Nobel Prize is such a simple concession in that it's really just a piece of paper, who really cares? He has nothing to lose in writing that letter, because if he writes that letter and Denmark is like, oh, this is all over a Nobel Prize. Well, here, have a Nobel Prize. Then he gets the prize and he gets to go, haha, I'm still not giving you Greenland, which is what I assume that he will do. Do you want to come say hi? Too fat? Too fat to jump? Think about it. No? Okay. Too fat to jump, guys. But upset about it. The Putin thing is really interesting. Well, no, this is okay. Wait, Seven Harmonies. You actually make a hugely important point that hasn't been brought up yet. When people are like, "Ugh, why do you care? You're Australian. Why do I care? Are you aware who the princess slash maybe queen, but I think princess of Denmark is? Are you aware that the princess of Denmark is Australian? Princess Mary? And you expect me to sit idly by while this man tries to steal the realm of my princess? Get a grip. I would never do that. I am a girl's girl. And you're not taking Princess Mary's Island, not on my watch. No, sirree. That's the Princess Mary's Island. Okay. Where do you peg the chances of military coup? Well, this is the interesting thing, right? I was thinking, I do a lot of cool stuff by myself, which is basically just sit around and think about things. I was thinking about NATO as a concept. And how really, if you think about it, NATO isn't built on the military alliance. Like, yes, it is built on military alliances, but not like it's not America needs, like all of these European countries need one another. No, it's built on this kind of history of camaraderie. It's built on a shared history where these countries feel they owe one another because they've gone to battle together before. There's this shared sense of like, we've been in it together before, we fought battles together before, we'll fight battles together again because we stand for the same things. Like very, very liberal, right? And I was thinking about the strength of America being really in like its people. You can't like I don't I think if the American army were to refuse to fight, that would be a huge deal. I have no sense of whether or not they will. I think that's a really big ask to put on them. And I know, like, you know, be brave, just do it. But like it is a huge when you think when you think about why people join the army, and a lot of the time the reason people join the army is because they're not in the best like socioeconomic position. We know that for a fact. The army tends to go on tours to rural communities, regional communities. Well, I know this is more in Australia. I know this happens that like the army goes to regional centers where it knows that it can pick people up who don't really have any hope of advancing outside of joining the army, right? So you get these young boys who dedicate their whole lives to this route. And then you're saying to them, it is the right thing to do for you to deny orders here, even if it costs you your career. And that may be true, but it is a big ask of young boys. This is the problem. I hate men. We know I hate men. We know that I am a misandrist. But every now and then, I just get very sympathetic for the young boys, you know? I just think you're asking a lot of the young boys. And there's okay. I have a plan that doesn't require the young boys to have to do that. I came up with it. Are you excited? Do you want to hear it? The answer is yes, by the way. I'm telling you anyway. What about the higher ranking generals refusing, not the soldiers? I mean, yes, but it's the same. Like you've spent your whole career and then you get dishonorably discharged. You're asking the way that these men are trained as well to think about things, to think about their career in the army, to think about pecking orders and follow. Like you're asking for like a whole cognitive reset. I'm not saying that that isn't what needs to happen. 100% it needs to happen. It's just a lot of people are going to be like, over Greenland? Was that my computer? Anyway, I just think I think it will be tough, right? If this were a situation where it was like an insurrection act or like the actual army was being used to fight American people, I think 1000% I would expect people to stand up and decide not to fight, okay? But Greenland, I think it's going to be tough. Let me just, sorry, the YouTube chat is so small. There we go. That's better. I hate men as a hobby. You know, just like a little bit of fun. Just keeps them in their place. It definitely, like, it's it's horrible, right? Like it's the same thing as going into the army to get sort of any sort of financial prosperity. It's kind of like people don't see it this way. People see this as like the ultimate most amazing thing that can ever happen. But being drafted into professional sport and feeling that your whole life depends on you having the shit kicked out of you multiple times a week and that your family is counting on you, and like it's the likelihood of like being successful at the level you need long term is the same as like winning the lottery. And yet this is just seen as like, yeah, we'll, you know, but it's not just Greenland, it ends NATO. This is one of the biggest mistakes, both on the side of the administration and on the side of the people who oppose administration, is viewing foreign strength as domestic strength, right? Most people don't give a fuck about NATO. I'm sorry to be the one to let you know. Most people that you talk to in America do not give a fuck about NATO. They care when things are expensive. So you can make the argument to them, I'm an American. Well, I'm not an American. I think that I'm not saying that no American cares about NATO. If you're watching this stream right now, guess what? You probably care about NATO. I have a sense you care about NATO. What I am telling you is that most people that you go up to on the street do not care. I have a contact now on X who I don't know. Also, guys, be wary about whether or not you want to be on X anymore. They've changed their terms of service. Yeah, I mean, your enemies definitely care, but this is the problem as well, is that like in my video I talk about it as well. It's like enemies are people seem to be bargained with, unless you're China, in which case you need to be contained. Something like Russia, right? It's like the best kind of situation for them because Donald Trump is working in their favor without actually them having to ask or pressure or do anything. NATO's, I'm sorry. Oh, I have something that will be upsetting for you guys to say that I believe. It's already done. Trump's behavior, it's already done. Tell me that, because the thing is, you have to remember that when it comes to Article 5, like NATO has no teeth. NATO has no enforcement. It has no punishment mechanisms. So when it comes to Article 5, this idea that we'll all come and protect you if your territory is invaded or hit, all of us will spring into action. There is no punishment for if you don't do that. Tell me that any European country right now believes that if Russia were to attack them, that the United States would step in. They don't, because America wouldn't. America has made it very clear that it doesn't give a fuck about NATO. It has no intention to do anything to do with NATO. And so this idea of NATO, which is what it is, right? It's this thing, just like the Constitution, just like so many things in a liberal world, that is given life through people believing in it and choosing to follow it, it doesn't exist anymore. I'm sorry. If you're in the Western Hemisphere, Trump has you covered if you comply. And he will make you comply, which is why if you're in the Western Hemisphere, the person you should be like, sucks to be Canadian. I don't think that I don't think that Canada is safe at all. At all. And it'll, because as I showed you in my little video, let me find my little video. Encirclement. Wait. Guys, sorry. I'm still just a girl. Why is that like that? Because you should see my screen here. Wrong display, maybe. Oh, yes. Let's try a few different things. There we go. Okay. How do I make this cleaner? Okay. Oh my god, there's two of me! Crazy. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get an overlay. I'm going to bite the bullet and I'm going to do it. But I just want to show you. Again, not there. Here we go. So if we're looking, which we are, there's one very special map I want. If I can find it. I swear I put two maps in here. Corridor, and there are three routes in this corridor: the Northwest Passage, the Northern Sea Route, and the emerging Transpolar Route, which will become more of a reality as we continue to let climate change ravage the Earth. This northern corridor is faster than the Suez Canal. The point is, Transpolar Route, new shipping and solid. Wait, thanks to climate change. Watch my face while I see if I can find what I'm looking for. It'll be worth it if I can find it. So what's new? What are you guys doing for my birthday? Here we go. Okay, this is what I want to show you. Looky here. So obviously, me pointing as if that means anything. Okay, cool. But if I point here, it works. So America has Alaska. Perfect. That's America. This is Russia. That's no good. But if we have Greenland, we cut off these two routes here. Canada would get this final route. Complete supremacy in terms of entry into the Atlantic Ocean. And actually, look away for 1 second while I go into my very private files. Where's the other little thing I'm looking for? Oh, I know this one is in the video, so let me just find it in the video. Don't you guys love the way I stream? I know you do. It's important though. When I show you, you'll be like, okay, I get it. I get it. Simple wordplay. So for instance, no more wars.
and consistently,
right.
unilaterally bombing
yeah.
natural gas. About 30.
Greenland, Canada. So these here as well are where we think resources might be as shit melts. Okay? So if we get Greenland, we get some of this stuff around here. But all of this is still, all this stuff here, oil, gas, that's all still very much in that Canadian territory. Be great if we could just take that, huh? Obviously not. You guys need to start to learn as well. And I know I get criticism for this. But wait, let me just see. If you, what does a tiny purple text? This purple? Wait. This purple? That represents 100% that there is oil and gas deposits there. The crazy thing about them, oh, you're looking at me looking at chat. Hang on. The crazy thing about them not caring about climate change is that none of this would be an issue if climate change had not occurred. If we still had the amount of summer Arctic ice that we had in the 1980s, none of this would matter. Has my... Okay. No, I can't fix anything. Okay, guys? Listen, I was out for a week because I hurt my neck, looks maxing, gave myself a bunch of migraines. Okay, couldn't look at the screen, haven't had time to fix it. I'll be fixing it this week. Look, the whole thing, let me see if I have this saved. Because it's not about, this is the thing, Fabian, if I thought, or Fabiana Nesco, if I thought that it was just a matter of security, then of course it wouldn't matter because yes, they already have everything. I say this in my video. Everything they could want to do, they can already do under the current circumstances, right? But that's not what they want, to be able to do whatever they want. They want to be able to do whatever they want without asking anybody. They want to be able to do whatever they want, whether or not it's deemed appropriate or legal. They want complete control. They also want complete control over the, Fabian, okay, awesome. They want complete control over any of the critical minerals that are there. Yeah, my hair looks better in the other video because it's out, but it's like 4,000 degrees. No, clavicular is probably infertile. What a guy. What a guy. Oh, we also don't need to worry about climate change because Elon Musk is covering the sun with some satellites. So just don't worry. If you were stressed and you were like, man, this climate change is getting really, really concerning, don't worry, because Elon Musk has sent a whole lot of satellites up. He's going to cover the sun. Everything is going to be fixed. I was thinking about this. Just sorry, I take a quick detour from Greenland. I know I'm the worst, okay? I know. Elon Musk's baby mamas. Where do you think they all land? Who do you think is the favorite? Where does Ashley Sinclair land on this list? I've been developing a heuristic against which I measure them. Yeah, I mean, they think that submarines are definitely coming through that way. He spun out after Grimes. You're correct, Fradley, but guess what? I actually only rank Grimes third. Oh, Elon stealing idea from Mr. Burns. Did you hear that he's meant to die in 2 days, according to The Simpsons? So we'll see. Where's the AC? I care about the environment. I already have like 6,000 lights glaring on me. Oh yeah, you just got to convince people you're a genius. You know who's really good at that? Christopher Nolan. He knows how to make something look like genius while being kind of stupid and not making sense. He's very good at that. That's his whole thing. He understands the aesthetic of genius. You think he respects a grifter. So you think Ashley St. Clair is high up? I truly think it goes Amber Heard number 1, Siobhan number 2, Grimes number 3, Ashley St. Clair number 4. Oh, did she? I gotta watch that shit. Elon is, this is the thing, this is why I'll never be mad at people like Anna Delvey, because I always find that women go to prison for doing the exact same things that men do in the industry. The crime is not what they did, the crime is the industry itself. The startup industry is criminal. The whole tenet at the base of the startup industry is fake it until you make it. Lie and just work really hard and make it a reality before anyone notices. I have never ever encountered a startup where that isn't the case. I've never ever encountered a startup where they have their product before they're getting money. It doesn't happen because you can't make a product without money, right? It's like a real chicken and egg situation. But it just feels like Elizabeth Holmes, Anna Delvey. I believe truly that if Anna Delvey had got the money, she would have had the most successful social club in New York City. I think she would have, she broke the law a little bit, but they all break the law. All of them. Elon Musk doesn't go to jail, but she goes to jail and it's wrong. Are you a Christian woman? I am not. I am an agnostic, but I read a lot about Christianity. Everything that was a startup started as a lie. You heard it here first. I doubled down. I believe that. That's what it is. Okay, so Friedley, heard? So this came out in 2022 because Amber Heard and Elon had embryos made together and he wanted them destroyed. And she won and they didn't get destroyed. And then she popped up with twins. It's true, James. Christopher Nolan is like, bam, look, and then this is smart, and then here's some maths, and here's someone thinking, and here's some maths, and here's an idea, and here's his genius, and he's here to tell you the genius idea. But it's like, anyone who actually knows the science behind it, not that I proclaim to know any science ever, but they would watch it and be like, no, this is stupid. Okay, so Dick is the best film. We meant to watch it this week and everything fell apart in the Discord because people can't behave like adults and now we're all punished. Could have been fun, could have been real, could have been awesome, but people don't behave. It is the best. It's my favorite political film, I think. I'm going to watch it tonight because it's my birthday. Not today, tomorrow, but it's my birthday night it's my birthday eve. We celebrate Christmas Eve. We should celebrate Birth Eve. It's called Dick. It's about, it's Michelle Williams and Kirsten Dunst as young girls who befriend Richard Nixon. I would show you the trailer, but every time I do anything like that, I get punished. So, you know. Okay. So, one thing I was going to say, I keep saying that I'm going to say it and then I don't say anything. Notice? Coincidence? I don't think so. You're not familiar? You need to watch this movie. You need to watch this movie. You'll love this movie. Okay. When I was thinking, if I'm a consultant to Europe, what do I do? How do I fix the NATO problem? I see people complaining, Joe, where's your positive project? You're just telling us what things are and explaining where's the president. Okay, yeah, fine. I came up with it. I worked it out. Are you happy? I fixed the problems of the world. Took me a whole night. But I put my head down, put my head to the books, and I thought about it. And I came up with the answer. No worries, guys. No worries. So, obviously, if we believe that part of this is to do with the critical minerals and also using, like, let's say we give this land and make it a special economic zone or exclusive economic zone for the tech billionaires, or we let them use it to make their own nation. Even if that's not the case, right? We know that the billionaire, we know that Lauder of the Estee Lauder fame gave Trump the idea that the moneyed people matter a lot to Trump. We know that Trump is using this administration to fully enrich himself. All he's doing is trying to make money, right? Like every 2 seconds, you learn that Trump has paid himself again somehow. It's crazy. So, wait, what does this do? Oh, okay, cute. Sorry, I just learned. I don't have ADD. I don't focus well. I lack discipline. Okay. So, we know how important business people are. We know how important money is to Trump. You know what the EU has? And everyone's always bitching. They're like, this is stopping progress. Let's stop some progress then. Let's regulate the tech industry. You want to put tariffs on us? Oh, sorry. You guys need to take legal responsibility for everything on your platforms if you want to work in the EU. You guys need to be in charge of child safety on your platforms, and you need to do it immediately. Otherwise, you can't operate in the EU. Sorry. You guys need to take control of... There'll be no AI in the EU unless you can come up with mental health safety plans. You will need to be responsible for everything that occurs on your platform legally if you want to keep operating in the EU. Insane how fast that works, in my opinion. Thank you for saying happy birthday. I like Vice. I like Vice a lot. But I like Dick more. Yeah, you make it impossible for people like Musk and Bezos and Zuckerberg to operate their businesses in the EU. You let them know, hey, well, we had this because there was a sense of trust and things, but we've decided we're going to start clamping down in terms of regulation. And this is what we have in mind. Because, 1,000% I think it works. Because you know what? Normally, I know this is shocking. Normally, I don't look to the people with money to be the heroes. But when I saw Jerome Powell stand up to Donald Trump, I thought, just maybe it is the bankers who shall save the moment. The bankers don't like democracy. The bankers won't save democracy, but the bankers will save money. And it's like, we need to just pivot this a bit. They don't care about democracy. Attacking democracy, saying, what are you doing to our values? What are you doing to our system? He doesn't care. He doesn't care. This will not stop him. You know what might? Hit him where it hurts. Hit him where it hurts. Say, sorry, we're going to need to have extreme cryptocurrency regulation throughout all of Europe. And we're going to start enforcing that now. And extreme AI regulation. And for all of those social media platforms, they're all going to need to be, someone's going to need to be legally responsible for what's put on those. And we think it's going to be you guys. And watch how quickly the office door is knocked on at Trump's house. Mark Carney is so interesting, right? Okay. I've been having thoughts. Okay. I'm really hungry. I just realized I didn't eat because I got so stressed out about streaming. It's all right. I'll get myself something yummy after. I don't eat on stream because I think it's gross when I watch other people do it. Anyway, because it's like, come on. Can you imagine going to a meeting with a client and being like, no. Oh yeah, Mark Carney. See, discipline. We're focused. We're back. We're back on track. Okay. Mark Carney's pivot to China. Very interesting. Calling Trump's bluff in the worst possible way, right? Trump is actively trying to get China out of the Western Hemisphere. Mark Carney turns around and says, oh, do you want to play that game? You want to try and bully us to get China out, to try and get some supremacy in the Western Hemisphere? That's fine. You're going to bully us. I'm going to invite China right in because I'm still a sovereign state and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm going to do that right now. And I thought, wow, kind of automatically showing the weaknesses in this security strategy. Just like the absolute things that you're not like when you look at Elbridge Colby and you read his book and you read how he talked, like he's kind of, he's so, oh, I know the perfect example. You know when you talk to boys who are very good at maths and very good at like hard sciences about a problem that's an emotional EQ problem, and it breaks their brain a little because they're like, I should be able to logic this out. There should be a very simple way, a very simple equation that I can do. If I count these variables and I count this variable and I cross this here and this negates this, and I should be able to work out what should happen and what ought to be the thing to do, right? Get these boys who are like trying to maths out whether like compassion, whether or not they should feel bad for someone. They're like, let me just put it into my handy dandy feelings calculator. This is what it feels like reading Elbridge Colby's strategy. Like there's no sense of account. Like he's like, I've got the perfect set of variables and I've worked out the second order effects and I've worked out the third order effects. And if this happens, this happens. And I've game theoried out every possible option. And it's like, no, bro, you didn't. You didn't, because you assume that everybody acts in, like, you put in little calculations, like everyone will act in their own best interest and blah, blah. And I presuppose that China is evil and therefore no one will ever work with China. It's like, okay, but that's a false assumption at the base of all of your understanding. At the base of everything you're doing, you have this huge misassumption. And so that's not going to work. So this is like this is Mark Carney kind of like exposing that to the world immediately by being like, oh, You're not going to be friends with us? You're not going to play nice? We'll go play nice with someone else who'll gladly have our friendship, who wants to spend time with us. We don't have to ask them to do the dishes. They want to do the dishes. Okay? So that is how Kanye is acting right now. The problem is this goes twofold. One, I think amazing, awesome. You're calling the bluff. Incredible. Great. The only bit that makes me a bit nervous is I'm like, what if Trump now uses this as the impetus, as the reason that what if Trump now uses this as the justification for invading Canada? I don't see that happening quickly. Rationale, thank you, Elysium. Whereas, like, what if it now becomes like, oh, yeah, go be friends with China, no big deal. Canada is friends with China, they have chosen their side. Be ready to invade. At 00500. Guys, I've really thought about it. I put some good thinking into it. Yay! Happy birthday! It's tomorrow, but I've decided to take 2 days. My dad always took a week, which felt excessive. Yeah, casus belli. Good job, guys. All my smart people who've done their just war principles and theories. Oh yeah, guys, this is what I want to tell you. I thought about it, put some good thought into it, watched some movies, Black Hawk Down, etc., etc. No. I wouldn't do well in the army. I thought, would I thrive in this environment? No. Mm-mm. I'm not ready to invade anywhere ever. I'm barely able to get out of bed for the purpose of getting out of bed. I'm like, oh, do I have to? Oh. Now you're telling me I have to get out of bed and invade another country? No, not for me. Thought about it, considered it. Mm-mm. And also, I'm not a killer, I'm a dyer. So unless you need to send someone out there to like take the bullets, I can do that. I'm not shooting someone, sorry. This is the Johnny Clueless, the leader declares war after being denied Peace Prize for not declaring war. It's a distraction though. He's trying to get a Peace Prize still, which is funny to me. It's like he's like, oh, well, I'm going to have war then unless you give me a Peace Prize. And then if Denmark gave him the Peace Prize, even though that's not like, it's an independent body, but let's say they were like, guys, we really need you to give us a Nobel Prize so we can give it to Trump just so we can stop a world war. Let's say that happened, right? He'd still be like, nah, suckers. Finally, you acknowledged me, but it's too late. For peace, I must take Greenland. And as the reward for my prize, I'll take Greenland as well. Trump is writing Trump. Guys, the problem we have at the moment is that 90% of the people in political prominence should be in the writer's room of a soap opera. Like, I am sorry. Look at Candace Owens and tell me that when she said the First Lady of France is not only a man and a pedophile, but also the father of the leader of France. And then 2 weeks later, or a few weeks later, she was like, and Charlie Kirk? He's a time traveler. You're telling me the writers' rooms of Days of Our Lives and Passions went like, what the fuck? How did we miss this? Pure talent, wasted on politics. She should be in a writer's room. But this is the thing. And look, I know you guys don't like it sometimes. I know you guys don't like it sometimes when I'm silly about, you know, these serious times and these serious matters. But I got to speak my truth. And my truth is, I read these text messages between Kirk and Candace Owens, and immediately I was just like, she was in love. She was down bad. They're flirting. How do you guys not see they're flirting? He's like, I'm a time traveler. She's like, yeah, babe, I'm an alien. And he's like, yeah, and you travel with me. She's like, yeah, we're going to lands unknown. We're going to change the world. Yeah. It's an adventure only you and I know about. It's got to be secret. Yeah. We're traveling through time together. They're flirting. They were in love. I'm sorry. He was also gay, but they were in love. And I understand that so deeply, so truly. No wonder she's crashing out like this. This is the love of her life. Yeah, you can marry someone and have a love of your life. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. A lot of people marry people they love very, very much, and there's still, the love of their life out there somewhere. Because, yeah. Guys, I need to work out how to title my streams, because there are people who would click in and be like, oh yeah, let's find out what's going on with Greenland. And then they're about to hear what I'm going to say. And it's just like totally different. There are the people you like. There are the people you love. And there are the people you marry. And sometimes the people you marry might be not even the person you like or the person you love, right? I'm a lover girl, so that's not going to happen with me. But here's the thing. The people you like tend to be like just a superficial thing. The people you love tend to be people who understand you on a level that it makes you almost uncomfortable. And until you're a healed and grown person, you may not even like to be around that person because it makes you feel too vulnerable. And they may grind your gears in a way that a person you just like never would, because the person you like is fun and pretty and, funny. The person you love is like, wow, this person sees my insides. This person says shit to me like I'm a time traveler. And I just get it. Okay? That's the fucked up, And then the person you marry, but it's hard to be with the person you love. It's hard. It's hard. You want the person who gasses you up and thinks you're the best shit ever and you're amazing and oh my God, you're perfect. How will I ever be? That's who you want to be around. That's fun. Everyone wants to be around a person who makes them feel like that. The person you love doesn't make you feel like that because they see you. Okay? Right? And maybe you're not ready for that. Here's the other problem. The person that you end up with a lot of the time needs to fit your world in a way. And this is not true for everyone. As I said, I'm a lover girl, so I'm going to end up with the person that I love. The person that I love will be the person that I end up with. But for a lot of people, they end up abandoning the person that they love, abandoning the person that they like because it doesn't fit into their worldview. It doesn't fit into what they think they need for their life. It doesn't fit into what they've decided, like into their bigger picture, their story, what they think they need. You're talking like you have a million choices. I'm not. I'm doing maths. I don't have a million choices. Half-Deck, you were here at my birthday, which as a woman of a certain age starts to feel like a funeral. Okay? Check yourself before you wreck yourself. I'm not talking like, oh, my 600 boyfriends and girlfriends, whoever will I choose? No, I'm just saying this is how people's minds work. Wait, who are you talking about, the common good? Owen. Who's Grey's Anatomy? Oh, Candace Owens. Yeah, no, they were in love. I truly believe this. They were in love. This was like the Notebook level love. Yeah, all men who are feeling confronted by what I just said, take it to your feelings calculators. Okay? Tap, tap, tap. Come back and tell me what the results are. I don't have a soulmate, but I know whoever, this is my my criteria. I think you'll like it. I've decided whoever I end up with has to be willing to jump in front of a train for me. Sorry, if you're not willing to do that, you don't love me enough. I'm not saying that a boyfriend or a girlfriend has to do that. The person I spend my life with, if you're not willing to jump in front of a train for me, steam engine, electric, I don't mind. We used to live in a world where men would die. And I think we need to go back there. Elvish Colby's dating advice blog is so funny. I also want to write it. I think I could do it. No, the train's not going to hit me. I'm driving the train. Okay, so yes. Back to, let's focus, guys. I know you all just want to watch dating story times. Me too. But the world is ending. Okay, and we're supposed to focus. Wait, a dyer wants to love a dyer. No, yeah, I do. Because I would die. I would die for someone. And so if someone's not going to die for me, then I'll just die for myself. I'm not bringing all this dying energy that I have to someone who's in the moment is going to be no, it should be second nature. Prince said he would die for me. Exactly. Okay, focus. Greenland. Maybe we should watch something and do some reacting. That could be fun. We could watch Leah, because I've been watching her stuff privately, but we've never watched it together. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to hurt you like that. Okay, guys, sorry, I get distracted. Have you noticed that about me? If anyone says that happens, don't listen. They lie. I'm the most focused, the best girl. Hey, Leah. Okay. Tell me how the
January
volume-
19th, 2026. You're tuned into Why America. I'm Legia Miller. Hey, so what the fuck is going on with Greenland? Am I right? Today I decided to peek out from the absolute pressure cooker that is living in Minneapolis right now, high at fucking
Wait 1 second. That's so funny. That's sad that she lives in Minneapolis, but I just need to move something so that I can read your chats.
sucks to make sure that we're also paying attention to the other deeply troubling shit that the regime has been up to. My central questions today are, what is NATO? What is Greenland? Why does Trump want it? And what's the potential fallout? Because things aren't looking good. The dollar might be falling. We might enter armed conflict with Europe.
That's another thing. Do we believe the dollar falling is intentional? I'm very inspired by this woman. I not only like her channel, I view her as an inspiration.
And it might all be because Trumpy Wumpy didn't get his little Nobel Peace Prize. Again, this is the stupidest timeline, and I'm here to cover it all just for you. This headline from
The stupidest timeline, I also believe, is intentional, right? I said this before. I truly believe that these people act so ridiculous so that we're almost in a state of disbelief about what's happening. So we're so caught up in being like, what the fuck? That can't be real. That can't be happening, right? And so it seems so hyper real. It seems so out of place and strange. There's no way that that could happen, that we don't even think to act. We don't even think to push back. Instead, we just sit and watch it happen like entertainment, because it feels so unreal that it feels like we're watching a television program. And so the more that we can make sure that we are just like, the more that they can, and that's why I'm saying the Trump letter is a distraction, because it's silliness to put us back on our laurels. Where instead of like being like, hey, writing to our representatives and say, you need to, like, we as the people don't want this and you need to find a way to stop it, right? Instead of doing that, we're like, can you believe this guy is going to invade Greenland over losing a prize? And it makes us think that it's silly and unserious and that there's no greater plan, and then it's just Trump being Trump. And also, the more that we think that things are Trump being Trump and not part of a broader administration, we think that there's nothing we can do about it, right? It's just Trump. What do we got? We just got to wait around for this guy to die. That's how our brains work. We're like, oh, there's literally nothing we can do. We just have to wait for this man to die. But that's not the case. That's not the reason for this happening. Something much bigger is happening. And so, but it's just a distraction so that we're like, oh, this is also silly. This is also entertaining. I think I might also have a crush on her, the common good. I think we should all develop crushes on her. Yeah, exactly. A hyper reality stunlock. I don't know how I feel about Rokana. I genuinely, like, look, I know a lot about a lot. I try my best. But I genuinely know more about American bureaucrats than I do about American sitting politicians. I spend more of my time focused on who's behind the scenes in like undersecretary positions than I do on representatives. Because I also am not really interested at all in the discussion about optics and how to win an election. Like, I'm just not interested in that question. And so I find that when you talk to sitting representatives, a lot of the time you end up talking about that question. I'm interested in, like, what is the plan? What are they doing? What are they doing right now? What are they planning? What are they trying to pull off? I want to unveil that. That's more fascinating to me. Because if I'm talking to Rokana or someone like Rokana, my desire is to be like, are you aware of what they're doing? Because it seems like you're spending a lot of time trying to prove to me you're very cool. And I've spent my time working out what they're doing. Are you aware of what they're doing? Like, I don't want to call you dumb, because I don't think you are dumb. I'm just checking that you've got your finger on the pulse, because Democrats are not really having their finger on the pulse. John, I think you might be right in terms of, like, functionally being the key important word there. I think Trump might functionally be a Russian asset as well, in terms of, once again, it's very important always to remember, an asset and an agent are different. An asset works for their own benefit and will work with another person or a country or an organization when interests align, and they can both get rich off it and they can both get their desired outcome. An agent formally works for that other country or government or organization. So I definitely don't think Trump is a Russian agent. It is possible that he is a Russian asset. Maybe. I don't know. But the most important thing is functionally, which is he may not even realize he's doing anything. It may not be intentional at all. It may have not. He may not be doing anything particularly intentional. That doesn't mean that he's not serving Russian interests. Sometimes people just, someone followed me on Instagram. I want you guys to know that I look at everyone who follows me on Instagram. So I know who you all are. Okay, guys, Leah.
Independent about this story helped inform my reporting. Trump's bizarre letter to Norway's prime minister in full as president links Greenland threat to Nobel Prize snub. Using the Ground News browser extension, I can get helpful background information on this publication in one quick glance. To get the big picture, I can click on full coverage, which will show me coverage of the same story from publications across the political spectrum. My partner on today's video, Ground News, is an app and website that offers tools to help you critically analyze.
Yeah, Johnny, I covered that in my Substack post on Epstein and what Donald Trump was doing back in the day. When I lived in New York, I used to live very close to, ages ago, I used to live very close to a Trump building. And it was so funny when I was researching, and it was like, oh, all of the apartments in this building no one has any idea who bought them. And we know that this many went to Russian oligarchs. It's very funny.
The news
an ad,
you read,
guys.
providing context to understand the full picture. You can follow along at ground.
Because some of us are lucky enough to have sponsors.
News/Legia. For every major news headline and headlines you may have missed, Ground News provides you with information and context, like who owns the publication and how factual it is, to help you determine for yourself what is trustworthy and how to interpret the news. I feel empowered by Ground News by getting well-rounded insight into each headline instead of relying on a single outlet that might have underlying biases and motivations that I'm not aware of. Ground News also ensures that I never miss a headline because of my own information bubble with its blind spot feature by highlighting stories that are covered on one side of the political spectrum and not the other. Ground News is transparent about its methodology, how it assesses each story and publication, including how it uses
The Common Good is talking about Kanye for seeing the collapse of the USD, and I think I think that's interesting and good and true and all of that, and I think it was a long time coming. I'm just not sure how much of look, if I'm being totally conspiratorial, I have nothing to base this on. It's all speculation. I'm an idiot and I'm stupid, so don't listen to anything I say. But a lot of the collapsing of the USD that's being pushed for, I think, relates to wanting to push stable coins in their place and bring in cryptocurrency in the place so that central bankers and the banking system are pushed out in form of a new group of people who'll do that job and funnel all the money into their own pockets, just like the banks originally did. Now, I can't prove that, but that's what I think. And if that is the case, then I wonder to what extent Kanye could have foreseen that. But in any case, it's a good idea to move a little bit away from the dollar anyway.
Independent monitoring organizations to assess the bias rating for each publication.
Leah's definitely a
I
killer.
genuinely think the world would be a better place if everyone had this much context about the news they read. Because depending on where you or your family members get the news, you're going to get very different takes on the same story. And listen, I'm not the only one who loves Ground News. The Nobel Peace Center even called it an excellent way
Nobel
to
Peace
stay informed,
Center?
avoid echo chambers, and expand your worldview. I'm always really impressed with Ground News and genuinely think that they're a great resource. If you want to stay informed on US politics and more, subscribe through this QR code or my link below at ground.news/Legia for 40% off this unlimited access Vantage plan. It comes out to $5 a month for unlimited access to all the features I've mentioned. Thanks, Ground News. So here's what's been going on. Months and months ago, Trump jokingly said he wanted to make Greenland another US state. Haha, we all had a laugh. Turns out he was really serious, or has kept it in his back pocket as an option for creating leverage when he needed it.
Yeah, I think that's simultaneously, somehow you need to just never take him not at his word. I think he's always telling you what he wants and thinks. And just because it seems crazy, I think you need to kind of always take this man at his word.
And Trump knows how to use leverage. It's one of the only things he does know how to do, how to find leverage and how to use it at opportune moments to get people to do what he wants. Doesn't matter if they're friends or foes, leverage is the name of the game. In recent weeks, he has amped up those threats against Greenland, saying that the US would either buy the island from its owner, Denmark, or take it by force if Denmark refuses to comply. And Trump just upped the ante, posting on Truth Social that there would be a new 10% tariff on...
The thing is, the thing that still confuses me, right, is what does it mean to take Greenland by force? This is what I still can't quite get my head around. I understand that everyone's like, do you really believe we're going to militarily invade Greenland? It's kind of like, damn, I have an example, but I don't want to use it in case it's completely incorrect. and then I look like I'm covering up war crimes or something. So you know what? That example's going to stay in the noggin. But my question is, let's say you send a bunch of like soldiers, American soldiers to Greenland. Who are they meeting there? Like, they're not just going to slaughter the Greenlandic people. The Greenlandic people are going to be like, hi, but what does it mean to take over Greenland? You know what I mean? Like, do you go to the House of Government and say, we own this? Like, how does one do this? Because even if you were able to take over the government, you still haven't taken over the head of state. That sovereignty still belongs to Denmark. Are you invading Denmark? Like, how does this work? Or do you get your troops to Greenland and then you say, okay, Europe, come and defend? Like, what happens on the force side? I see the strength of the threat. I just don't understand the reality of the threat at all. Yeah, they have installations in Greenland. They've had many more than they currently have. They currently have a space base. They used to have a bunch of bases, but they weren't forced to wind them down. They just did wind them down, right? So roll up to Greenland. The U.S. Navy tell the other. Well, like, what are you doing? Like, I was thinking this though because I saw this thing that was like Trump to offer $100,000 to everyone in Greenland to sell, and I was like asking my family members. So I was like, if someone came to, like, I live in a small part of Australia, so it's like if someone came to our little territory, and they offered every single citizen of our little territory $100,000 to join the UK, do you think we would do it? And every single one of my family members said yeah. So I just don't see the even though the military one sounds scary and is like a show of how far things are willing to go, it's obviously going to be economic arbitrage, economic kind of negotiation. A paper signed? Yeah, but but why would you, like, we're here to take Greenland. Okay, well, no. We'll fight you for it. Me? Random Joe Blow of Greenland? I don't want to fight. I also don't have the ability to give you Greenland. Occupy the ports, insist you set the rules now. I mean, the ports with Denmark are shared. So this is what I don't understand. Like, maybe I just don't play enough strategy games. The thing is, there is literally, and I say this in my video, which you all should watch, by the way. Have you all watched my video? Because I feel like maybe some of you haven't. And I feel like maybe some of you are lying and you haven't watched my video. You haven't even let it play in the background. You haven't commented on it. You haven't liked it. And I noticed these things. And I noticed you doing that. And the fact that you're willing to do that in my birthday week in front of me, to sit here and chat with me, and you haven't even watched my video, actually crazy, actually so disrespectful, actually can't believe it. And the very first thing that you should be doing, you should be opening my video now. Okay? Thank you, Mighty Bomb Jack. Okay? I say this in my video, which is, there is a treaty between Denmark and the USA, which allows them to do pretty much whatever the fuck they want. And they could just upgrade that treaty and America could be allowed to do even more of the fucking shit they want. And if you look historically, Denmark has allowed America to go and do things in Greenland that even violates Danish law. America can do whatever they want. Anyway. Yeah, it makes you a fake fan. Maybe I'm not a sociopath. I don't think I'm a sociopath. I did for a while though. But that's because I actually do have OCD. And I tend to sit around a lot being like, am I on the Epstein list? Maybe I don't remember. Maybe someone I know is on the Epstein list. everyone you're talking to might be on the Epstein list. How would you know? They wouldn't admit it. You've got to come up with a test. You got to come up with a test to test everyone around you. Because they're all secretly on the Epstein list. And they don't want you to know, and they've been lying to you your whole life. Interesting. Oh. Yeah, sorry. Well, now you get that little insight into my mind.
Some of our key allies in NATO starting February 1st, which would go up to 25% in June unless a deal for the US to obtain Greenland is reached. For a while, Trump's stated reason for wanting Greenland was because he's worried about China and Russia closing in on the island and taking it for themselves, which would pose a threat to the United States because of how close Greenland is.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's about, and I know you think this because you've watched my video, so you know exactly what I think. It's not about, hang on, I've got a frog in my throat. It's not about it's not about China or Russia taking Greenland. It's about them operating in the waters around Greenland. It's about maritime supremacy of the Arctic corridor. It's the idea that right now, and I do hear this whole like, we haven't seen a Chinese boat in 10 years. Okay. If I'm on Trump's side, people don't like this when I do this, but it helps me. If I think as them, one must think as their enemy to defeat their enemy. Okay? Yeah, you haven't seen a Chinese military ship in 10 plus years, but you have seen Chinese trade ships. You've seen Chinese icebreakers. And have you considered that you may not have seen Chinese submarines? Because the whole point is you don't see them. Did you consider this? So yeah, I don't think it's about actually the encampment or like getting on Greenland. I just think it's about the water next to Greenland.
To us.
Because, there's an argument there that maybe you shouldn't want people just flowing out into the Atlantic Ocean next to you. But then I think, well, every country could make that argument to suddenly start seizing all of the countries around them. So it's a silly argument.
Let's just look at a map because, to be quite honest with you, I never have really historically paid much attention to Greenland, so I had to remind myself exactly where it is. I know its general location.
Neo-royalism is definitely, it's been happening since so when I was first streaming in 2021, there was a lot of joking adherence to wanting to bring back the monarchy. And that's when Moldbug, Curtis Yarvin started to become quite big as well in terms of wanting to bring back an aristocracy and a monarchy. And I think neo-royalism, like bringing back a monarchy is all, yes. Yes. Yeah, Tigan, exactly. You may see those ships in the future because that trade route is opening up. However, like, just because something... Okay, here's a good example, using ICE as the example. Let's say you truly believe Renee Good is a threat in the car, okay? And you need her to stop. We can all agree that that might be true. Maybe she was a threat in the car. Maybe that is an honest threat perception. We can debate it, but let's just say for the moment, you could accept that as a true threat, right? That doesn't mean the only option is to shoot her 3 times in the head. Okay? Maybe there is a threat of China using this Arctic route more often and it giving them sort of maritime a leg up in terms of popping up in the Atlantic, and that's concerning. Maybe that is true. That doesn't mean you have to take Greenland, right? I don't think he's going to shrink. I don't think he's trying to shrink. I don't think it's about sinking Chinese trade ships. I think it's about being able to use the trade route as a lever in times of war, in the same way that the Red Sea can be used, in the same way that the Malacca Strait can be used, in the same way that the Suez Canal can be used, in the same way that the Panama Canal can be used. These ports, these entryways, these trade route like linchpins, I think that Trump wants to control as many as possible so that in times of dispute, it's like, well, okay, we're going to hit you where it hurts, and that's your wallet, and you're not doing trade anymore. And if you want to do trade, you're going to have to go all the way under the Horn of Africa. Thank you. I'm glad that it makes sense, even though it doesn't make sense.
Okay, but if you look at it, it is quite close to the US. Well, really to Canada. But, you know, for a Trump follower with zero interest in critical thinking,
You got to look from the top. This makes it look confusing, where you're like, oh. But if you look from the top, get your little globe out and you look from the top, it makes a lot of sense.
or facts, just a glance at a map might convince.
So, follow Stan, just quickly. If you'd have watched my video, if you'd have watched my video, Blonde Politics, on Venezuela, then you would know that actually Venezuela accounted for 40% of funding that China had put into Latin America. And yes, they were part of the Belt and Road. 40% of funding, over $100 billion put into Venezuela. Is the difference between Arctic versus... Yeah. Oh, the difference is so bad. Hang on, let me just see if I can find... Let me see if I can find from my little thing. I got all these images. That I use. My click, click, click keyboard. Doing its click, click, clicky thing. Do I have it here? No. Let me just look on the thing then. Wait. You're going to be like, oh, damn. I can't find the image that I like. I saw it. I've had it in my hands. I've held this image. Ah, here's one that'll tell you. Okay. This won't tell you about the northern route, but we can get there in a second. Why aren't you opening up? Okay, perfect. Okay. So, gotta fix that, I know. This, the route they normally take to Rotterdam, which is the European port, 48 days. 11,000 nautical miles. This northern route, significantly shorter. Saves them time, money. It's a much shorter route to come up and around. Okay. Oop. This is the longest route, 57 days. It adds on 3,500 nautical miles. This is really inconvenient. And the reason that America, where are you? Is America just not on this map? Okay. The reason that America, over here, is working with Australia on these AUKUS submarines that do nothing really to protect Australia, because they go too deep for the depths that we need them off the coast of Australia. You know what those submarines are actually amazing for? Blocking this here, the Strait of Malacca. So the AUKUS deal actually isn't about improving Australia's Navy for protecting Australia. It's about improving Australia's Navy so that we have the submarine capacity to block the Strait of Malacca in order to control this trade route. Obviously, the Suez Canal and the Red Sea are other choke points. That's why here, this Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Anyone interested recently in some stuff that was happening in Somalia? Like maybe Somaliland being granted independence? Let's just check that again. Somaliland. My bad. Oh, so crazy. It's almost like it's right near this strait. It's almost like... I don't think Somaliland is this big anymore because they broke off. there was a group that broke off. But even using old school, like this is really important. Don't you think? Obviously that's Djibouti, but this, interesting. Interesting. And all this stuff that's happening with the Suez Canal and the Board of Peace, seems like a lot of these trade routes are being secured. Thoughts? Thoughts? I'm so upset about the French submarine thing, I can never talk about it. We can never talk about how we fucked over the French. It makes me very upset. Is the flat round or square? I'm not even sure if the earth is real. Okay. Do you know what freaks me out? Like, this is a high thought, but I don't have it when I'm high. I just have it all the time. I get really, oh my God, stressed to the point of being upset. I do though, and I have to be honest with you. It upsets me. I hate thinking about history because I'm like, how do we know that actually, I feel like maybe we're being lied to. How do we know that any of that happened? Like, you can kind of believe up to the point that people are still alive. And then you can kind of believe the people who are still alive are like, well, the people who were alive before us told us about this. But there comes a point where I'm like, we don't know. How do you know people are just fucking lying? Because it's convenient and that's what they want you to believe. It really stresses me out. Like, I think about medieval times, when I think about ancient Egypt, when I'm, even stuff that's not real. When I'm watching Gladiator and they're talking about taking things for Rome, and I'm like, did that happen? I don't know, because even Thucydides, who is technically the world's first historian, he was writing some magic shit. Everyone's like, oh, this is the first person to do history properly. Have you read Thucydides? Because I have. And there's some stuff in there that I don't think happened. Okay? And it stresses me out. I'm very stressed about it. So I can only think about the here and now. Even better, I can only think about the future because I create the future. And I know I'm in control of that shit. Yeah. I create the future. I see the future. But the here and now is tangible. The here and now I can deal with. But literally even the 60s, I'm like, I don't know. So the really big question is if we in the US, I need to start reading like Kai Cenat as well. My eyes are going so bad. If we in the US have all these big plans, taking Greenland, Venezuela, etc., we isolate all of our allies. Okay, so they don't see this plan as isolating allies because in their calculations, they're like, so long as it is in the interest of allies, they will still work with us when we need them. At the moment, we're doing more for the allies than they're doing for us. So the allies are never going to abandon us because they'll always work with us when we need them. So in his little feelings calculator, in Elbridge Colby's feelings calculator, he's decided that changing the nature of the relationship to being one that is more contractual than familial doesn't mean that the allies have been abandoned. Tanking the dollar is done to start a new world order of money. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just a dumb girl on the internet. I need Charlie Kirk. Genuinely, I need to figure this out, and I need a time travel to do it. I'm not carrying the flame. It's 2026. Exactly, John. She's using the wrong map. I'm so sorry, Dragon. Herodotus was the first? Maybe. I know that within military history, people view Thucydides as the first proper historian. But I could be wrong. I could Google that. But that was what I was taught in school. And maybe my education is worth shit. I wouldn't be surprised. Trust no one. Okay, we need to actually watch this Leah video. I'm so bad at reacting. You guys need to be on my case. Discipline, okay? I gotta have it.
Convince them that, oh yeah, China and Russia can't get a piece of that. That would be really close. Thank God we're intervening. There's of course also the oil. Greenland is home to a lot of oil. Reportedly, it would take 1 trillion.
And the oil is actually like a catch-22. I have an article for us to read on that, so we'll read that in a second. But it's we don't have the refineries, which is what I think she's saying here. But it's also, I know she'll mention the critical minerals. The critical minerals are the critical.
$1 in investments and years for any of that oil to result in profits to the US or whomstever extracts it. But sure, yeah, it's all about the oil. Then, over the weekend, Trump sent a letter to the Prime Minister of Norway indicating that all of that was a farce. I mean, we knew it was a farce, but he made it really clear. His letter said in its entirety, quote, "Dear Jonas."
No, don't fall for it. This is the farce. This is the distraction. This isn't... No... This is a Lubitsch kind of reveal, okay? This is the distraction, not the original one. The oil and the China and that stuff, that's much closer to the truth than this. This is just to throw us off the scent.
Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant, but can now think...
I haven't seen Dark City, but I will watch it. I'll put it on my list.
About what is good and proper for the United States of America. Denmark cannot protect that land from Russia or China. And why do they have a right of ownership anyway? There are no written documents. It's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago. But we had boats landing there also. I have done more for NATO than any other person since its founding. And now, NATO should do something for the United States. The world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland. Thank you, President DJT. Okay.
We should all start sending letters saying, oh, guys, I have another brilliant plan. Let's all claim Greenway. Greenway is a suburb. Let's all claim Greenland. Let's all write, let's flood letters. Wait, that's going to just annoy Greenland. We need to, but we should all claim Greenland. I think Australia has a bigger claim because of our princess. I've said this. Also, this letter, as I said, this letter means nothing to me. This letter is trash. This is a distraction. And the fact that it's even getting media attention is a distraction. But the idea of, anyway. I don't know why. Guys, that wasn't my best thought. Just pretend I said nothing.
Okay, so for those of you following along at home, Trump wrote a letter to the Prime Minister of Norway complaining that the Nobel Prize Committee, which is entirely independent from and unrelated to the government of Norway.
I mean, they say that, but this is like, okay, like if I wanted something from Colombia and I wrote to the president's going to be like, well, I don't really control Colombia. Yeah, well, just go to the University of Columbia and tell them because you're the fucking president. Hi, His Royal Highness. Like, in the one sense, yes, of course, okay, you don't control the Nobel Institute or whatever. Okay, you don't. But you are also in charge of the country that it exists in. Well, Trump's killed NATO. NATO's done. But, yeah.
Didn't give him a peace prize related to the 8 wars he made up in his head. And because of that, he's going to take Greenland, which is a territory of Denmark, not Norway. To say that we've...
Daniel, do you like having an Australian princess? Is she queen now? Do you like having an Australian princess queen? Yeah, the letter is an absolute fake out. And it's a way that Trump might accidentally end up with a Nobel Prize anyway. But it will mean nothing. What does this say? Okay, no.
we've lost the fucking plot is an understatement. The problem with all of this is a little thing called NATO. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization was founded in 1949 in the wake of World War II, and 12
This is a thing, and sorry, Lee. I mentioned this in my video, not to talk about my video again, right? But if you read the national security strategy, there is contempt, utter contempt. Hang on. If you read the strategy that they are working off, right, where they outline their view of the world, there is utter contempt for NATO and any organization like it. So when people are like, oh, big problem, NATO, no, they don't care. And honestly, what is NATO going to do? Because it is a toothless institution, like the United Nations. Like this board of peace that Trump is trying to make, this is a way to circumvent the United Nations. This is his way of destroying international institutions that have made up the bedrock of the international order and recreate them in his own image, the way he wants them to be. So, okay, as I said, oh, there's this problem with this thing called NATO. NATO already doesn't matter. Genuinely. We can pretend to keep putting and inflating air into it as if it still exists, but unfortunately, given that there are no repercussions for not fulfilling Article 5, find me a European country that believes if Russia attacked them right now, that America would come to their aid. I don't think you'll find a European country that has that confidence. And there is no punishment for them failing to do so. There is nothing that forces them to do so. They simply choose to do so because of their word. Look at what this man is doing right now. Do you have any faith in his word? When he's actively saying, fuck NATO, I hate NATO, he refers to NATO as sovereignty sucking. They talk about how for too long that they have been taking the weight of European countries that haven't been contributing. Like, you know what I mean? It's just crazy to present NATO as something that is even going into the calculus right now for Donald Trump. In his ideal world, NATO gets so upset by his behavior that they all leave NATO and form their own thing. That's his ideal. In his ideal world, NATO behaves in a way that he can go to Congress and say, see what they're doing? See what they're doing? Because Congress currently won't let him leave NATO. But so he'll do everything he can except formally leave, and he'll try to prompt some sort of altercation that allows NATO to formally fall apart. But informally, NATO has fallen apart. Sorry, guys. I hate to be... It's just like NATO has no force. NATO doesn't have an army. It relies on countries to send their armies. And you're getting, England and stuff being like, we sent a singular soldier to Greenland to show how serious we are. No one is going to send their troops to die for Greenland. They're not willing to, look at an actual situation where truly bad things are happening over in Ukraine. I get that Ukraine's not formally part of NATO, but that's an actual threat to the European continent. And they haven't for years sent anything meaningful there because they don't want it to escalate, right? But you think they're going to send troops to Greenland? It's not going to happen.
12 countries originally signed onto it, including Canada, Denmark, France, Norway, the UK, the US, among others. It now has a total of 32 member states. It cannot be overstated how devastated much of Europe was in the aftermath of World War II. Over 36 million Europeans died in that conflict. Major urban areas were bombed into oblivion. Infant mortality.
And this is my point, is that, oh, sorry guys, I wasn't even showing you the freaking video. Sorry guys. This is my point in terms of NATO is not built so much on an actual military alliance where these militaries work together. It is built on a shared history, right? A shared, we went through this together. We're going to work together from now on. That's what NATO is more about than it is any kind of defense pact.
Mortality and homelessness was rampant after the war, and an entire generation was deeply traumatized. Meanwhile,
Dragon, I'm plenty worried about Australia and what the fuck we do re-AUKUS. I just mentioned AUKUS before, right? The part of the reason that people don't like Trump is holding a lot of hands, right? Trump is holding a lot of cards in his hand, I'm sorry. Because if we have a problem, they fuck us on AUKUS, and then we've lost hundreds of billions of dollars and we have no submarines. Our fleet is fucked. We do actually need a fleet. But this is exactly what I was talking about in terms of the weaknesses in Elbridge Colby's feelings calculator approach to strategy. Is he just assumes that every country is going to be like, well, I don't have a choice but to work with America. When we see from Mark Carney that some countries decide, no, I don't want to do that.
Meanwhile, though the U.S. participated in the conflict and many U.S. soldiers died, other than Pearl Harbor, our borders were relatively unscathed. Our industries were booming thanks to the influx of business that the war brought in. America emerged from the war the dominant world power. And the lingering fear of the Soviet Union and communist aggression that could bring further conflict and devastation led to an agreement that a transatlantic security pact would be the best option for deterring Soviet aggression and infiltration into Europe. In the treaty that formed NATO, Article 5 states that, quote, an armed attack against one or more.
Article 5, which, what have we learned, chat? There is no punishment for not following through on it. There is nothing to force people to come when Article 5, it's all just good word and promise. You don't get kicked out if you don't come. Nothing happens. There is nothing that forces Article 5. So it's all well and good to, like, it just kind of feels like in this moment, anyone who's kind of being like, but look here, Article 5 of this document, like, look, it strictly says here that you have to do this. It's like, Trump can't read. Trump won't read. He doesn't care about your document. He literally doesn't care about your document. He hates your document. He wants to set your document on fire. Bringing it up is like so futile. It's confusing. It's like, okay. And that's why I do spend so much time being like, this is what the bad guy is thinking. This is what they're trying to do. This is what is their aim. Because if you don't have a clear picture of that, you will be walking around being like, look what it says right here. Appealing to them on grounds they don't give a shit about. They don't care. You cannot get them with values or liberal order or anything. You can only get them at their fucking pocket. So if the EU wants to do something, it has to punish American billionaires and corporations through regulation until Trump backs down over Greenland.
Of them shall be considered an attack against them all. It binds each ally to take, quote, such action as it deems necessary, including the use of armed force, in the face of an outside attack. Over the years, the agreement would expand to include scientific cooperation and other objectives, but the overall theme was to form an alliance aimed at maintaining security and avoiding another global conflict in the post-World War II world order of democracy versus communism. Obviously, that's an oversimplification, but that's the general idea. Around the same time of the formation of NATO at the end of World War II, the whole U.S. prosperity thing led to another important change that matters for our discussion today. In 1944, the Bretton Woods Agreement named the U.S. dollar the official reserve currency for the 44 nations that signed on. Ever since, the U.S. dollar has been the reserve currency of the world. According to Investopedia, because I'm no expert, quote, a reserve currency is held by central banks to facilitate international transactions and minimize exchange rate risk. Holding a reserve currency reduces exchange rate risk because a country doesn't need to swap its currency for the reserve currency. Since 1944,
I don't know about the petrodollar ideas and the reserve currency. There's something here. But what it is, I need to revisit it. And I think I'm going to go about it the left-hand way through. Okay, can I just be conspiracy-minded for a second? And it's unrelated. But you just have to deal with it because it's my stream and I do what I want. It's my birthday tomorrow. Howard Lutnick, who is the Secretary for Commerce, is also the main banker. Technically, he's divested, right? To his son's doesn't count in my book. He is the main banker for Tether, the most criminally terrible stablecoin that exists in the entire world. Donald Trump has his own cryptocurrency, which is getting very strange investments. Money from Venezuela is now being sent to Qatar. Qatar is working with him in lots of his cryptocurrency investments. It just seems like they're putting a bunch of money in crypto, knowing that they're eventually going to tank the dollar, because that allows them to get out of all of their loans. Low interest, let's get out of everything, but all of their money is safe in crypto. I don't know, you know who I'm going to talk to? I'm buddies with Cryptodamus. I'm going to get my finger on the pulse of this, and we're going to work it out. But I don't know enough about this sort of thing. But even the Jerome Powell stuff, I think it all connects. I just don't have... I need my board. I need my board with my strings and my bits. And I need to know more of the information so I can make the strings attach. But I can do that. But not if crypto starts being attached to other things, which is... Stablecoins tank when the dollar tanks, but now they're trying to create stables that aren't like... Facebook got in trouble for this with the Libra coin, that it's not they're not backed fully by the dollar. They're not backed by dollar reserves. And so if you start being backed by other things, I don't know. I don't know, guys. You know what? We've jumped into the pond before we've stretched. We've started the race, we've started to sprint, and we haven't even stretched our calves. So let's just take a step back, okay? Look at me dead in the face. Do I look like someone you should be talking to about interest rates? The answer is no. Now, I can always go away for a couple of weeks and I can learn. I'm a great learner. It's my one true skill in this life. I can learn. And that information will stay in my head for approximately another 3 weeks. But we're not in that period right now. So when I start talking about money, stop listening. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, you've been warned.
For the US dollar has been the primary reserve currency used by other countries. Foreign nations watch US monetary policy closely to make sure their reserves aren't hurt by inflation or rising prices. Initially, the stability of the US dollar was because it was all backed by gold. But then we kept printing more and more cash, in part to help finance the Vietnam War, which led to an eventual crisis during the Nixon administration, which led to a decoupling of the US dollar from gold. So now the value of the US dollar is based on floating exchange rates and backed by what Investopedia calls the safest of all paper assets, US Treasuries. Because at the time of the decoupling from gold, so many countries already had so many...
You know, I will say, John, I personally have actually been very bullish on XRP. Even though a lot of people have been against it, I have been bullish on XRP. I've told those around me to invest in XRP and Ondo. I've been bullish on Ondo. But I got to tell you, a lot of that is based on my instincts, not science. But I will tell you something, my instincts are truly unmatched. But I do think that if you invest in XRP, don't expect a return for a while, okay? But I am bullish there. I hate crypto, it all means nothing, but if I did invest, it would be in XRP. Heard it here first. Or Ondo, but XRP first and foremost.
many US dollars, and the dollar was still backed by US treasuries and a country that was economically incredibly prosperous and stable, the US dollar remained the global reserve currency. That has given the US a favorable position in global trade, allowing us to borrow money very, very cheaply and amass a debt far greater than what we can afford. While Trump
I did watch a lot of Odd Lots and all of this. There's stuff going on with the bonds. God, guys. I'm going to have to become an economist again, aren't I? Just for a week or two. It's probably useful anyway with the Jerome Powell stuff happening. I did actually really enjoy those 2 weeks. You know what? Okay. You've convinced me. I was going to focus on, my next video is going to be on Maha and the health movement, but maybe we go back to money. Maybe if I talk about money, I'll attract money.
claims that the US subsidizes the world, some economists argue that it is actually the world that subsidizes the US by giving us what the French call exorbitant privilege. But a lot of that privilege was based on trust. Holding assets in US dollars, trading in US dollars, extending lines of credit to the US.
But I remember when I was reading about, okay, you got to go to my Substack. I wrote a piece and it says, the guy behind Trump's economic moves. And it's about a guy called Zoltan Posar. He talks about Bretton Woods 3. And there was a big thing about America wanting to ditch the exorbitant privilege because they don't think it's a privilege. And the fact that America's products are all financial is a problem. And they want to go back into manufacturing. And they want to get rid of these financial products. They want to go to Bretton Woods 3. And they're on a war footing with China. It's about war financing. And it's all coming back to me now. Whoa. It's all coming back to me now, guys. Shoo, 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 shoo. Bretton Woods 3, Zoltan Posar, war footing, China, 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 China. Stable coins. Getting rid of financial products. Should we watch me talk about it to see if I remember it? Maybe after Leah. We'll go to Economist Joe after we do Leah. Am I bullish on China? I don't know. I don't remember what I said. I don't remember anything that I said. But you know what's so crazy? About the same time that I was talking about Zoltan Posar, I said that Trump was going to take Greenland. And I talked about Elbridge Colby. So my instincts 10 months ago were correct. And I think we should go back. The only thing I'm bullish on is XRP. And I can't explain why because I don't know why. It's my instincts, baby. I can't even buy XRP because I don't know how to set up a fucking wallet. So I'm just giving you free non-financial. And you know what? Yeah, this is financial advice. It is. You know why? I can give that. I'm not a finance person. Why the fuck are you taking my financial advice? That's on you. I'm feeling very Chinese this year, and I'm excited for the beginning of the year of the horse, the year of the fire horse to be specific. Everything's going to change for me. Everything. It's my birthday tomorrow, and then it'll be the year of the fire horse, and we'll be charging into this new, and we will be very Chinese. But anyway, guys, please, we need to finish this video, then we can watch the stuff on Zoltan Posar. Okay? Maybe, depending on how hungry I am. Thank you.
All of that was based on trust that the US would continue to prosper and that it wouldn't squander alliances it had formed over petty personal vendettas, and that the status quo would largely continue uninterrupted because the parties all acknowledged that the absence of the alliance could lead to the type of global conflict the alliances were formed to avoid. That seemed to work for a long time, 80-ish years, but perhaps that's too long, and the collective memory of what it means to exist in a world without those alliances has died, along with the survivors of the atrocities of World War II. I mean, obviously not everyone has forgotten, but especially in the US, where we didn't experience the brunt of that war, there seems to be less concern about maintaining the world order that has avoided all-out global conflict for nearly a century, at least within the Trump regime. Okay? So with this backdrop, we can better understand the fuckery that is happening and why this entire conflict can truly be boiled down to a vain, petty vendetta because the president didn't win a special prize for doing nothing.
No.
So So his claim that Denmark is incapable of protecting
No.
Greenland and therefore the US must take it is clearly nonsensical. First of all, despite what Trump has claimed, Denmark intelligence has confirmed there have been no Chinese or Russian ships put.
Let's be clear. Danish intelligence has confirmed there have been no military warships in the last 10 years. However, not to be that girl. Look, you can see all my work process. Oh my god, she's so smart. Fuck. It also does say in here, my friends, that China is a big risk. So, the reason I do this isn't to be like, Trump is correct. Trump isn't lying. It's like, let's be very clear about what the threat is. Because as I say, agreeing on a threat isn't the same as agreeing on a solution, right? It is true that the Northern Corridor is opening up and that China may use that passage to send military ships that way, like submarines. Maybe. It can also send a lot of trade there, and I'm sure that anyone who views economics as the battlefield would like to be able to control supply corridors. That's all true. It can be true that China, which I believe is most of this fucking document, by the way, they didn't see a single ship. It's mentioned 268 fucking times, bro. It's literally said that what does it say? Russia, China, and the United States have diverging interests in the Arctic, but all three countries seek to play a greater role in the region. In recent years, the United States has significantly increased its security policy focused on the Arctic, while China continues its military buildup, and China continues to develop its capacity to operate both submarines and surface vessels in the region. Russia remains the strongest in the region. Russia will increasingly assert, China. Western sanctions will therefore seek to deepen its Arctic cooperation with China and allow China greater access to the Russian Arctic. China aims to assert regional dominance in Asia. Remember, China refers to itself as a near-Arctic state. It has the Polar Road Initiative as part of the Polar Silk Road. It is actively releasing policies about this part of the world. Okay? So, exactly, Sean, but this is my point. You can acknowledge the threat as being real and say the threat is already under control, right? So you can say, yeah, China is going to try and use the Arctic corridor more frequently. Yeah, I mean, Denmark has acknowledged that. China has acknowledged that. The United States has acknowledged that. We all know that that is going to happen and that is a very real threat. Luckily, Denmark and the United States have had an agreement since 1941, last updated in 2004, and an agreement we're more than happy to update again today, which allows them pretty much full military control of Greenland. There's total cooperation between Denmark, Greenland, and the United States about what happens in the maritime region around Greenland. Just because you agree on the threat doesn't mean you agree on the solution. So just because we can say, but once you start trying to, like, this really frustrates me when people start trying to be like, but there is no threat. China isn't, because it's like, okay, now we're not even, like, let's just fight on the facts, man, because you're creating issues that, like, you are creating a fight that you will lose that you don't need to. Because we don't even need to argue that. We don't need to argue that China doesn't want to pop up next to Greenland. It does. It says it. Denmark says it. We say it. Everyone says it. You don't need to have that argument. All you need to say is, hey, yeah, we know. We've picked it up in our intelligence reports. It's all here. We pick it up a lot. In our 64-page document, it's mentioned a lot. We're all over it. So is the US, and luckily, we work together in this region to defend it. So simple. Because the real question isn't, is there a Chinese threat? The real question is, why does the United States need to operate without Denmark or Greenland? Why does the United States need to own Greenland and to be able to do this kind of defense? The answer is they don't. The answer is they do not. And so the question is then, is it just this whole idea of like, I don't want to participate with anyone, I don't want to deal with anyone, I just want to do things myself? Guys, I'm going to buy myself a cake. Sorry, I'm hungry, and so my brain is sort of like going all over the place. But yeah, I'm going to buy myself a cake. It's my birthday. I can buy myself a cake. The idea is, I think, for one, they want to do illegal things. I think, what does Denmark militarily offer to the USA? The Danish army, which is already stationed in Greenland. Greenland itself, because they have sovereignty over Greenland, so they offer the land. But I think the question is that from my point of view, China, the United States wants to do illegal things, and it doesn't want to have to convince anyone else to do it. It wants to be able to shut that passage whenever it wants. Okay. I also think they want the critical minerals for their buddies. I think they want the critical minerals for their buddies. Anyway, I mulled, and then I have to go back to chat and check that. John, Carney is calling Trump's bluff, which is like, you're doing all of this to try and fuck over China, and you're bullying us in order to fuck over China. Well, what if your actions do the exact opposite? This hasn't been in your calculus, so what are you going to do? Crypto's stupid, but you asked my opinion. I gave you my opinion. Exactly. America needs Greenland if they want to make it a special or exclusive economic zone where all the billionaires can mine all the critical minerals and have all their data centers, and then America doesn't even have to worry about the EPA or any kind of regulation to protect Greenland. They can just go guns blazing to win the commodities war. And then the billionaires can sell back the critical minerals that America owns back to America because they mine them without the EPA. The Golden Dome is also super interesting. That's going to make Musk a lot of money. We need to go into it a little bit. It is actually not a defensive thing. It is an offensive thing. But I need to look into it a little bit more. Rare earth minerals. That's what Trump said. Yeah, they're going to just shut the fucking passages as they want in a way that fucks over everyone, in a way that Denmark wouldn't want to and wouldn't approve of. So they're like, we don't want to deal with you. Critical minerals, critical earth minerals, minerals that are critical for batteries and stuff. I don't know. Do I look like a scientist? Do I look like I know about, is palladium, is that a real mineral or is that from a movie? Clearly you guys are thinking I was a lot smarter than I am, so I had to take those glasses off.
Patrolling the waters near Greenland for at least the last decade. There is no imminent threat. Even if there were, the very nature of NATO means that the US is free to send military there to protect Greenland. In fact, the US is obligated, especially in the face of an attack, to send protection to Greenland to protect our ally from outside forces. Denmark has the military might of the entire NATO alliance behind it, and Russia and China know that. That's the literal entire point of the NATO alliance. Additionally, if Trump were truly concerned with Russia and China gaining a greater foothold anywhere in the world, alienating us from...
I don't want it popped out. I want it popped in. Pop it in. Thank you. Look at me naming real elements like I actually paid attention in science. I'm actually going to get a science tattoo, guys, because one of my friends is a astrophysicist. She studies black holes. She studies particle. I don't know. She's a physicist at Stanford. Okay. And once she gave me a compliment, and it was the best compliment I ever received, but it was in form of a mathematical equation. And I believe it's time that I have that marked on my body so that I look at it and I go, hell yeah, I'm amazing. Okay. Vibranium.
From our closest European allies and creating a potentially unmendable rift in the NATO alliance sure isn't gonna fucking
He doesn't want the NATO alliance.
help on that front. And on top of all of that, Trump is further stirring the pot with his whole board of
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to yell at you. I really like you. I didn't. I'm just frustrated. We're all frustrated. It's a really difficult time for all of us. I didn't mean to raise my voice.
peace that he's trying to create. The Board of Peace comes out of the US's 20-point Gaza ceasefire plan that the UN Security Council endorsed last year.
This is an attempt to override the United Nations and destroy the United Nations.
The Board of Peace is meant to usher in the next complex phase of the ceasefire agreement in Gaza, an agreement Israel has violated literally hundreds of times since it was brokered in October. However, recent developments make it clear that the Trump regime envisions the Board of Peace as something larger, in direct competition with the UN Security Council. The US has veto power on the UN Security Council and has frequently conflicted with that Security Council, especially about Gaza and other issues.
Oh my
Trump
God!
called it the greatest and most prestigious board ever assembled. A series of letters were reportedly sent.
This Board of Peace thing is very interesting, though. I am going to look into it further, but it is so bizarre because it's not made up of it's an attempt to undercut the United Nations, but it's not even made up of countries. It's made up of like billionaires. It's very strange.
Out on Friday, inviting various countries to become founding members of the board, saying that it would, quote, embark on a bold new approach to resolving global conflict, indicating Trump has plans far beyond a Gaza peace deal. The letters he sent out stated that members would have 3-year terms unless they made a $1 billion investment. Then their seat would be permanent. And it names Trump as chair of the board permanently. Now,
where does all that money go? And Trump's going to be the head of the board permanently, not just while he's fucking president, permanently. What does Netanyahu think about Putin being on the board? I don't think he cares. I think he is very cunning as a politician and reads things well in terms of how things advantage him. And right now he knows that he just needs to, when things are going your way, you don't kick up a stink.
The U.S., Donald J. Trump, the person, gets permanent, lifelong chairmanship. It's unclear how many countries were invited to the board, though if it's fundraising he's after, I imagine he probably cast a very wide net.
Where does the money
go? Of the invitees aren't exactly who you would consider to be arbiters of global peace. They include Hungarian strongman Viktor Orban.
When I think peace, I think Orban. Also, it's not just the world leaders is one thing, right? Like, get yourself a gang of war criminals to enforce peace, okay. But why private sector people being on there is so bizarre to me. And the whole thing doesn't even mention Gaza, which is a little concerning. But I mean, what would I know? But I'm just like, we got to do a deep dive of this Board of Peace.
And Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, known as Europe's last dictator. Oh, and also Vladimir Putin himself. So tell me why Trump claims to be so concerned about Russian aggression in Greenland while literally simultaneously inviting Russia to become an ally.
Because it's the dragon bear. Because Russian aggression, when Russia is operating as a singular, so in the national security strategy, he talks about wanting to deal with individual actors and how sovereignty reigns supreme above everything else. So dealing with Russia and Putin, dealing with Putin as just Putin is a completely different beast in Trump's mind to the dragon bear, which is the cooperation between China and Russia, where Russia uses the foothold that it has in certain areas, along with the military power it has in certain areas, and combines that with China's technological and economic power. So when he's saying Russia and China want Greenland, he is thinking of Russia as an extension of China in that moment, as part of the dragon bear. When he is thinking of Vladimir Putin in terms of his Board of Peace, he is thinking of Putin as in China, as in the rival that should be bargained with and negotiated with, and this is, every person is a potential client. And so that's different, in my opinion.
in an international alliance. I'll tell you why. Because none of Trump's geopolitical choices are based on giving a shit about anyone but himself. He wants the Nobel Peace Prize. He wants to get back at his enemies. And ultimately, he sees Russia and China as wealthy countries run by strong men that he is envious of. For the longest time,
God.
the US has acted as the giant bully.
The other thing is, and that's a really important point that she's raising, which is, as I said in my video which you all watched and liked and commented on, right? Right? Good. It's my birthday. You don't have a choice. Okay, thank you. I actually, just to brag about angel numbers, my video has made me $6.66. So things are feeling very lucky for me. But in my video, I mention when they're talking about China, they talk about it in pretty much economic terms, and they talk about China as an economic competitor. They don't talk about China as an ideological threat. They don't talk about China as an enemy civilization. And if they were talking about it in that sense, which is similar to how previous security strategies have spoken about their rivals, then the idea is that these people need to be destroyed. They need to become less powerful. They need to, that's not, speaking about your rival as an economic competitor suggests you manage them differently, right? China needs to be contained. China needs to be dealt with in a way that is financially beneficial for us, where we're working together, but we're still out on top. We can't destroy China because China is obviously a key part of our supply chains. China is obviously, like Asia more generally, obviously holds most of the world's GDP. We're not looking to destroy Asia, and we also don't want to take over being in control of Asia, but we want to make sure that we are the primary trading partner in this. Like if 6-7, if one person has the upper hand, it's going to be us. Thank you. It's my birthday tomorrow, but I'm just claiming today as well.
Protecting all the European kids at the lunch table. And then he looks over at the table where Russia and China are sitting, and he sees himself in them. He figures he might actually like to join them. Seems fun to be friends with the other big giant bullies instead of all these prissy Europeans. Because Trump doesn't give a fuck about democracy or, God forbid, the pores. He gives a shit about his own power and increasing his ability to do absolutely whatever the fuck he wants. And he sees, especially in Putin, someone who does just that. And he wants that. Fuck peace, fuck economic prosperity, fuck the hordes of people who may be hurt in the process, fuck all the reasons why the current world order was created in the wake of the horrors of World War II and the Holocaust. He wants to grab as much power as he can because he can, period. There are other calculations happening behind the scenes among his goons, whether it's Venezuela or Greenland, but for Trump, and probably largely for his goons like Marco Rubio and Stephen Miller, it's about ego, and it's about taking whatever we
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely plays a part. As I have said, the personality principle definitely plays a part. But the thing is, right, let's say you want power and you want it more than anything. You can acknowledge that Trump wants that, and Trump is also not smart enough to get that by himself. And the people who are smart enough to get that, to amass power, right? So Elbridge Colby's book, Strategy of Denial, something in the time of great rivalry in the time of great powers, right? You need to have an understanding, like, in order to get power, you need to have an understanding of how power operates, who has power, why they have power, what are the limits on power. You need to have understandings far beyond what Trump has. So it's one thing to be like, Trump just wants power. And it's like, okay, cool, but how's he gonna, like, and his goons maybe want something too, but it's all about Trump wanting power. It's like, well, no. It is all about Trump wanting power for Trump, but the administration, I'm not really sure what use it is. Like, God, listen to me. Shut the fuck up, Joe. It's because I'm hungry. the reason I don't like look at Trump's letter, look at how egotistical he is. It's all about Trump wanting more squares on the board. He wants to win this game of Risk. Look at Trump trying to accumulate this. Trump just wants to make himself money. Yeah, he does. But if that is the answer, if that is the explanatory force behind all of this, your only answer is to... What is the answer? You're going to impeach and remove the president. That's all you're left with. If you actually look at the strategy more broadly and who is benefiting and who's coming up with things and where are the problems when Elbridge Colby gets out his feelings calculator to create the perfect set of circumstances where ideal actors will behave perfectly, like, you need to look at how he's coming up with those calculators so you can be like, Elbridge Colby hasn't accounted for this. And because he hasn't accounted for this great weakness is something that can be exploited to stop Trump from completely destroying the world. When you look at like, oh, and there's, accounting for, oh my God!
Look at you.
Hannah! Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. I actually believe I'm going to be bringing back crypto morality. I think it's time we're able to buy our way there because things are looking bad. Okay? So I think we're out of options in terms of behaving well. We're going to have to buy our way there so that we can have a little bit of leniency. Okay? And we're going to have to bring back the crypto morality stock market. Thank you so much for the gifted subs. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I think the problem is it's like I get so annoyed when people, ego is a lazy simplification. He's got a serial killer. Yeah, he's smarter than people think, right? If you look at what he's trying to do with China, you've got the Mark Carney defense where it's like, oh, I'm going to call your bluff and I'm going to ally with China as a response to your behavior. If you look at the calculations about billionaires and their money and working with private capital and how now we're going to work with private capital as much as we can, then you get Europe to fuck private capital. Europe, in response to Greenland, goes, okay, you want Greenland? Everyone's getting regulated. Everyone is getting... Okay, bye, Hannah. Everyone is getting the shit regulated out of them. And that's the pressure points. If you're just like, the only pressure point is Trump's ego and there seems to be no real way to attack it that doesn't cause him to push back like twice as hard and behave worse, then what are you meant to do? What is the deal here? It is clear that the Democrats are not going to impeach this man anytime soon. So you are creating a scenario where the explanation is a man with an ego so huge, the only solution we have is to wait for him to drop dead. That doesn't work for me. So I'm going to look at the goons. I'm not looking at Rubio. I'm not looking at Miller. I'm looking at bureaucrats. I'm looking at the people writing the policy. And I'm looking at their mistaken assumptions.
We can because of the simple fact that we can get away with it. The Trumpian world order, the one that is seeming increasingly likely to be taking root permanently, is one of pure self-serving narcissism, full stop. We took Nicolas Maduro because we can.
No, they think the EU is a baby bitch boy. And they're not going to do anything. If you regulate out US companies, don't you need EU companies to be... I'm not saying regulate them out, right? I'm just saying regulate them. I'm not saying I'm just saying put in regulations that are extremely annoying for these countries. So for instance, in Australia, when it was decided that Facebook would be held responsible for the publications that happened on its website, and therefore it needed to do things like make sure live streams of terrorist events didn't happen on Facebook because they would be held liable, they chucked a fit. They didn't like that. Recently saying, hey, we're going to do age verification. We shouldn't have done that. We should have said, you guys need to be responsible for child safety on your platform, otherwise there'll be penalties. So it's not saying you can't operate here. It's saying we're going to make your lives expensive as hell. And it's not going to be very profitable for you. And the person you have to blame for that, your president. Because we were fine working the way we were working before. But you've created this reality. This is the bed your president made, the guy that you put billions of dollars into running. Go to him and complain. Go complain to him. Because if this is how he wants to play, this is how we shall play.
Can, and we'll do it to you next if you step out of line. We want Greenland because we can. We have to get what's ours and fuck everyone else. And because this is all based on short-sighted, self-serving aims for the benefit of Trump and his rich friends and fuck all the rest of us, there doesn't seem to be much concern coming from the White House or Trump's allies about the potential fallout from all of this, which is very great.
Yeah, like you have to play their game. It's not getting rid of social media. They can't afford to lose the EU market. They're not. Imagine if you were like, I don't even know what a regulation could be. Like a union regulation. Amazon, you have to pay all of your workers in the EU appropriately. Amazon isn't going to stop in the EU. They can't afford to lose the entire market of the EU. But they're going to be pissed off. And they're going to try and push back. And they're going to try and, do all crazy sorts of things. You're going to piss them off, right? You're stamping on the ant's nest, and the ant's nest is sitting under the president's ass. Because when they push back, you say, look, we're just in a situation where, previously we were operating as allies of America. That's been made clear that that's not true to us. America wants to take Greenland. You guys have been supporting this. You guys have been paying for this. So now we need to make sure that the EU is getting the money that we require out of you guys. The EU needs to make sure that you are doing things properly because we no longer have the trust that we once had with the United States. And yeah, there may be, I'm saying use this as a tactic. So there may be some problems. There may be pushback. Courts may not let it go through. But it's the same thing as Trump being like, I'm going to take it by force. You need to make the threat. Make them worried. Make them sweat. Make them book in to have dinner with fucking Trump. And say, hey, this Greenland thing, it's ending up being super expensive for us. And I don't think that it's a good idea. So I need you to back off on that if you want us to fund your midterms. Make Trump have to make a decision between domestic power and foreign ambition. And you do that by attacking his backers. But this is just me, because some people will say, oh, Joe, you don't have a positive project. You tell us what's wrong, but you don't tell us how to fix it. Here's my suggestion. I don't see anyone else coming up with a suggestion. This is my suggestion. EU doesn't have to stand united. I mean, maybe they will. Maybe they will. Okay? I don't know. This is my suggestion. If you guys would like to put out a suggestion, like, I don't know, all of Europe sending troops to fucking Greenland and fighting Americans to the death, cool, that can be your suggestion. This is my suggestion. Other suggestion for you might be they should just roll over and give Greenland. Okay, I'm just coming up with a suggestion for a positive project, which was asked for by you guys. And it took me a lot of thinking time. And I did. Thank you! Oh my gosh! Thank you so much! Ali? I'm going to use that money.
Happy birthday. Keep thinking and putting it out there. It's inspiring and important. Also get your cake.
I'm
girl.
literally going to use your money to get a cake. I'm literally going to use your money to get a cake. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Well, nukes aren't going to work because Elbridge Colby's already planned and happy to have a limited nuclear war. He's planning for one with China. He expects that it will happen, create conditions where it will not be advantageous. Like, I'm sorry, you can put French nukes on Greenland, but America can out-nuke them, and they're prepared to, based on their strategy. If you read their national security strategy document, they are prepared for limited nuclear war. That's not off the table for them. So a nuke, a French nuke, is not going to dissuade them whatsoever.
It's like in the movies when the rich and powerful villain feels so powerful they believe they can't fail, that they can get away with anything, only to have their own hubris be their downfall in the end. Yeah, we are the villain in that scenario. And despite it being a very predictable trope in every major Hollywood...
This is the other thing, though. Sorry to pause every time. I know I'm so annoying. God, I would hate to watch me. I'm stressed, guys. I don't want to get sued for copyright infringement. A mistake to make as well is to say, we are the bad guys. Because something that Europe needs to be appealing to is the fact that America is a democracy. America has people. And the presidency, even though it's acting fascistic right now and authoritarian, is supposed to be responsive to the people. The power of America is in its people. And if all the people revolt and decide, no, this is absolutely not going to happen, like, America is not the bad guys. Don't give up on America just because they have a bad administration. America, we the people. I'm not American. You guys don't want me. Like, you have to believe in you gotta, let me have my West Wing moment. You gotta believe in the people. The people stand with Greenland. The people who know where Greenland is stand with Greenland. And they can band together and protect Greenland from the enemy within. Yeah, I'm not into the whole, like, we're the bad guys. Okay, no. Chill with that.
Hollywood film for decades, the lesson doesn't seem to have stuck. In the wake of the announcement that Trump wants to take Greenland because he didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize and would be enacting steep tariffs until he gets what he
common good. Vance is totally a different kind of evil, and originally I was very worried about Vance. As many of you know, I always thought Vance was the original guy. He was the guy. Donald Trump was just a trick, and we were waiting for Vance to come in. I think Vance has been shuffled. And this is so stupid, but it definitely became clear to me when he wasn't at the Venezuela press conference because he had to go to Israel. So, oh my God, babe, I want you there so bad. I really need your help. You would be a lifesaver. I need you to go to Israel and do this for me. Because I don't have time. I'm doing this whole Venezuela thing. And, like, I can't ask anyone else. I don't trust anyone else. I need you to go to Israel. Yeah, well, but I need Marco here because he's Cuban, you know? Kind of like, it sells to that base. I need you to go to Israel, please. Yeah, we're doing the Situation Room photo shoot. I know you were looking forward to it. I know we were doing the Obama photo shoot and you were looking forward to it, but I wouldn't ask you unless I really needed it. Please. You're meant to be my VP. You're meant to be my number one guy. Thank you. And then Marco, okay, I'm telling you, you know how all the billionaires were in their yachts around, like, St. Bart's over New Year's? They had a meeting. And that meeting, 100% related to the clavicular Michael Knowles interview. And they said JD Vance is ugly. He's got to go. The youth have spoken. He's unsalvageable. He's a fat slob who's going to get mogged. He's got to go. Marco has promised. Marco drops a couple of pounds. Marco does this, like, the less he speaks, the better he looks, actually. But, like, Marco drops a couple of pounds. They take Cuba. He adds Cuba to his resume. This is how I think it happens. I think they've decided it's Marco's time now. It was JD Vance. It was. I'm telling you it was. But Peter Thiel was like, clavicular's right. He's too ugly. And they've pivoted. So I'm sorry. I know the thing is, and you guys can be like, that's stupid. But you believe that Trump took Greenland because of a Nobel Prize? Like, I'm sorry. Either we live in a stupid timeline or we don't. And if we live in the stupid timeline, this is much more appropriately stupid to me. Because they're trying to get the Groypers, right? They're trying. They want your Nick Fuentes, your Meyer, and your Tates. They want that. So if the new young hot Groyper is saying that JD Vance is a fat ugly slob who could never be a president because he's ugly, in that moment, if I'm Peter Thiel, I'm like, guys, pivoting. Marco, let's get him some Retta. Let's get him some GHKU. We've got 2 years to make him sexy as fuck, and we got to take Cuba. So That's what's happening, if you're wondering. As you watch Marco Rubio get slightly sexier, you note that and you think of me. And you say, she knew it was coming. You watch him drop a little bit of body fat percentage. Jawline might get a little bit stronger, might get some a little jaw filler. He's going to be on that redder. He's going to get sexy. And you're going to be like, whoa, sexy Rubio. Joe might have been onto something. Oh, yeah. That's why I'm surprised that Vance hasn't tried to kill Trump. But the thing is, I got to tell you something. Oh my God. How bad do I want you guys to hate me? How bad do I want to lose your faith in me? Okay. Here's the thing. Women have astrology in the same way that men have misogyny. Okay. So men will be like, women are stupid. You go, excuse me? You go, but it's a fucking joke. You can't take a joke. You don't have any lighthearted things in your life. Women will be like, oh my God, it's the moon. Like, you don't seriously believe that. Oh my God, it's a joke. What? You don't have any fun and whimsy in your life? All of that is a preface to say, I know astrology. I know you hate it. I know. I hate it when you make rape jokes. Okay, we all hate things about one another. Donald Trump is an eclipse baby. He's going to live a really long time. He's not going to die. All of you think he's going to die and you want him to die because it feels like the only way out right now. He's not going to die. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe. I don't want to make threats against anyone, but I'm just saying he's an eclipse baby. He's unlikely to die. But when he does die, we'll miss him. Because whatever's coming next is much worse. That's the power of being an eclipse baby. I hope you hated that. I got to give you something to reject. It's like I'm inoculating you, like a bee sting, allergy kind of medicine. I'm going to stick it in your arm and be like, no, I didn't like that. Like, yeah, good. Stay skeptical. Don't trust me fully. I don't even trust me fully.
Wants, markets across the world fell this morning, and gold and silver, traditional safe haven investments, hit new record highs. The value of the US dollar sank as well, 0.31% against the euro. Remember the whole thing about the US dollar being the global reserve currency? When its stability falters, that impacts the entire world. As Republican Representative Thomas Massie put it on Twitter, quote, when reserve status is lost, maintaining current spending levels and servicing the debt will be even more painful for Americans who will bear the full inflation tax. As chief economist at Euro Pacific Asset Management, Peter Schiff, put it, quote, the dollar's reserve currency status allows us to live beyond our means. Soaring debt, tariffs, and military threats jeopardize that status. When it's lost, economic collapse will follow. And we, the everyday Joe Schmoes, will feel the brunt of that fallout. The average person is not sitting on a whole lot of gold these days, last time I checked. And if we do have any wealth, it's usually tied up in our...
And you know what I learned? So the copper is apparently super valuable, and they're getting rid of pennies, which are made of copper, but apparently you're not allowed to melt down pennies. Well, that seems fucking rude and wrong. Apparently that's illegal.
401ks and our homes if we even own one. The unrest that would come from upheaval in the value of the dollar and its status as...
His natal chart is so fucking insane. If I had more of a female audience, we would obviously be doing an entire stream reading it. It's wild. But unfortunately, there are men who continue to squat here and they sit there with their little attitudes. You don't seriously believe that, do you? You don't seriously put any stock into that shit, do you? Yeah, okay, if the penny copper is more valuable than the penny itself, I should be allowed to melt it down. That's what I get for collecting them. Do a video so that the world can shun me? The common good, I can teach you. I can bring you into our ways. I can teach you the ways of astrology. Well, the gay merchant would also love an astrology stream. listen, if men who sit here promise to behave and have a little bit of fun and not be annoying, maybe we'll do a Trump astrology stream. Okay, so you can see that he's going to live a long life.
As the reserve currency for the world, not to mention the current upheaval and potential upheaval if tariffs hit the EU.
I make one mistake one fucking time. I make one bad guess. I make a trillion great guesses. I guess everything else right. I make one bad guess, and guess what? Every other international relations expert makes the same fucking guess as me, except for Michael McFaul. The only guy, and that guy fucking sucks. I make every right guess. I guess shit other people aren't even, their noses aren't. I do the JD Vance tech shit. I get everything right. And everyone's like, remember in 2023 when your life was falling apart and you made a little joke about Ukraine and you said that Russia wouldn't invade? And now you're a fucking idiot. Fuck off! Leave me alone. Anyway.
EU would have major impacts on US businesses that could then lead to mass layoffs and price increases, creating a cascading effect that again would hurt us the most. But I'm not trying to fearmonger anyone. 0.31% drop in value against the euro for the dollar isn't like a death knell by any means, and the dollar has...
As an Australian, a drop in the dollar would actually be so great for me. Because having my dollar worth about half the US dollar really cripples me every time I'm in America.
Remained the stable currency even through major catastrophes and Nixon fucking everything up, for example. But according to Fortune, there could be further chaos depending on how Europe responds to these threats from Trump. Quote, the EU holds significant leverage over Trump as European countries own $8 trillion of US bonds and equities, almost twice as much as the rest of the world combined. As the EU alliance strengthens in the face of increased threats from Trump, this could come with retaliatory tariffs from the EU or massive sell-off of US dollars in favor of the euro, which would impact inflation and treasury yields in the US. I'll be honest, I'm not 100% clear on how all of that works, but suffice it to say it would be bad. And yes, once again, average Americans would likely bear the brunt of that inflation. The EU could also implement an anti-coercion tactic, also known as its trade bazooka, against the US, meant to protect EU countries from economic coercion by outside forces. According to Fortune, quote, in addition to limiting trade in goods and services...
She said Fortune, but I heard 4chan.
The anti-coercion instrument could also target...
Okay, I can randomly pick one thing and predict that it's going to happen for the rest of time, and eventually I might be proven right. But apparently when I predict things being right, that doesn't mean... Do you think, was John McCain wrong about anything, Cicero? Was he ever wrong about anything? Weird that you bring up the thing he was right about instead of the thing he was wrong about.
Target foreign direct investment and financial markets.
And all I said was, I don't think Russia will invade Ukraine because it doesn't make sense in terms of their stated foreign policy and how they've acted in regions in their post-Soviet satellite states. They have worked to destabilize, disrupt, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, they went into Crimea in 24. I did all the analysis, and I just so happened to have a wrong outcome one time, which I owned up to, but you've decided to fucking try and stick it in my face every time we interact. And I've never heard you say anything that I'm like, wow, what a really insightful and amazing point of view. I'm really glad that this person is out there putting their point of view into I've never heard that. So I don't really, you know what? I let you do this. I let you one guy me. And oh my God. Yes. Perfect. Yes. You've got to go. Oh my God. I'm so excited. Okay. So I'm doing this new thing where I'm banning you. You can get back into the stream with extreme levels of flattery. I don't want a reason that you shouldn't be banned. I don't want any of that. All I want from you is to flatter me excessively. Okay? Speaking of monarchies, this is one such area. This is not a democracy. Shit's not fair. If you want back into the chat, you have to say a whole lot of nice things about me. Oh God, it felt good. Yeah. Sometimes I let people, like, I have like adorable Cicero, because I started streaming in like 2021 and I was consistent for a couple of months and then I stopped, and then I was very inconsistent for like a small period of time. People who are around during those times, I tend to have leniency with, and I think they do this thing where they think they're like pseudo almost flirting, where it's like, we have this cute little thing where I tease you and you like it and you react, and it's like, no, fuck off, I don't like it, go away. You can stay if you say nice things about me. If you want to say mean things about me, go. There are plenty of places on the internet that I'm sure are more than happy to do that. But, and also it's Twitch. There's like plenty of places that you can just shit on women streamers, especially women politics streamers. I actually think, in terms of women covering politics, I'm doing an okay job.
Markets. In response to Trump's new tariffs,
And it's my fucking birthday, bro. It's my birthday. Go away.
such measures could include taxes on U.S. tech companies, restrictions on investments in the EU, or limits on access to the single market. This, again, would impact businesses, which would then pass on those consequences to consumers in the form of higher prices and layoffs. All that said, it is truly impossible to predict what will happen, how Europe will respond, and how we will all be impacted by the economic and political fallout of alienating ourselves from our closest allies. The world order that has been relatively stable over the last 80 years is on extremely thin ice right now. And no one knows what will happen because this has never happened before, because no one has been stupid enough to try to fuck with the geopolitical alliances that have served the US well for decades. No matter what Trump claims about trade deficits.
I gotta fact check that. It's tomorrow, but I'm taking today as well. And I might take the day after, because my dad always took a full week. This was my birthday somewhere.
And defense spending. It's certainly not making us any friends. Over the weekend, thousands of protesters came out across Denmark and Greenland, with 10,000 appearing outside Copenhagen City Hall. Many of them were sporting familiar-looking bright red hats. But instead of "Make America Great Again," their ball cap said, "Make America Go Away." The hats have reportedly sold out.
Okay, on the negging thing, I do just want to say, negging has never and will never work on me, ever. Because it just makes me cranky. I'm a very lovely, kind person who can be approached directly. And when people try to make me insecure so that they can be friends with me or have a shot at some sort of like connection with me, that doesn't work with me. Because all I think is, you're a fucking asshole. So just a note to the boys watching, negging doesn't always work. And it's also a horrible thing to do. And you're a horrible person if you think that in order to, you need to have an upper hand with someone in a fucking interaction. Like, this is the thing. It's as a boys come into my chat, they need to prove they're the smartest ones here. They need to fight for intellectual chat supremacy. You don't get it. I'm the smartest one here. My stream. You want to be smart? Go do your own stream. Oh, but you won't, because you don't have anything insightful to say. And even if you did, no one would give a fuck. Okay, I'm not saying a lot of people give a fuck about what I have to say, but at least I'm out here putting myself on the line instead of sitting in someone else's chat, snarking at them, being like, remember when you were a fucking idiot?
Across Denmark, and as someone currently living in a federally occupied city in Minneapolis with threats of even greater military presence to come, I can't say I don't agree with the sentiment. Okay, so what can we learn from this? Things that Trump says that initially come across as just a joke and as too out there to be even remotely taken seriously eventually become a serious threat. Him running for president in 2016 was haha funny until it wasn't. His desire to take over Greenland was haha funny until it wasn't. So when he talks about the Insurrection Act, when he jokes about not holding elections in 2026 and 2028, we need to take
This is one of the things that annoy me. Like, when I watch some of the more liberal streamers and they'll be like, what are we going to do about the midterms? And I've literally felt this since Trump won the election. I'm like, why are you talking about something that is not going to happen? Like, why, like, even if it does happen, why are you talking about something that you can't be certain is going to happen in any kind of fair way? Like, the midterms, stop looking to the midterms to save you. That is not going to save you. He's openly telling you that he plans on fucking with the midterms. Take him at his word. What's the worst that can happen if you take him at his word? You're over-prepared for something that doesn't happen. So bizarre.
Him at his word. This is not a time to brush it off as him just
Evan Starcraft, you don't come across that way at all. Don't even worry.
bloviating. He now has the power, the will, the madness.
I know when people are teasing me and joking with me and having fun with me, and I know when it links to something more.
And the people in the right places to help him do literally whatever he wants at a whim. And ceding power certainly is not on that list.
No way.
This could include sending troops into our cities and canceling our elections. And especially when it comes to legal gray areas or areas where there is little by way of actual enforcement mechanisms, like international law, for example, he'll do so without even trying to make up a valid legal justification. Tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of Trump's latest inauguration. 1 year. Congress and the Supreme Court have shown limited will to stop him, and international law has no teeth. Anyone attempting to predict the fallout from Trump's various geopolitical moves is making an educated guess at best. Now is the time to get to know your...
I love IRI. I'd love to debate IRI on anything. He'll probably win though. I'm just telling you ahead of time. Because when it comes to domestic politics, he is much stronger in terms of what he knows. And I'm worried we might debate past one another when he's like, this is the strategy of how we can win the midterms. I'm like, there's not going to be any midterms. And he's going to be like, you're crazy. Of course there are going to be midterms. And then I'm going to sound like a conspiratorial freak. And he's going to be like, I will not talk to her again. She's lost the plot.
Your neighbors and embed yourself deeply in your community. We will need to lean on each other more than ever to weather the storm ahead. And I will be here every week to keep you as informed as I can. If you'd like to support my work heading into a brand new year of horrors, consider joining here on YouTube by clicking the big join button down below or supporting me on Patreon, patreon.com/Legia Miller, where you get access to all these episodes completely ad-free. Thank you to my multi-platinum patrons, Christopher Cohen, Evan Friedley,
Oh, don't
Mark,
look at my
Sarah
stuff.
Shelby, Art, David, Latranger Lucas, Thomas Johnson, and Tay. Your generosity makes this channel what it is, so thank you. And if you like this episode, you'll like my episode from Wednesday with updates on what's...
It's important to support people, guys. And I watched her whole video, and I'll probably watch her videos in the future. So the least I can do is join. Okay. But now I'm gonna go and buy myself a cake. And I'm gonna watch Dick, the movie, with Kirsten Dunst and Michelle Williams. And then tomorrow I'll be back. I'll do a little stream on my birthday before I go out to dinner for my birthday. I'll do a little tiny stream and we'll all celebrate together on day 2 of Joe's birthday extravaganza. I don't know. Is that a big deal? Like, it's the last 4 digits of my credit card. Does that matter? Did it have... I should probably get rid of it. I'll just get rid of the end. I'll just cut that out. My bad. Okay. Mwah. Bye, guys.